Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto beats Kakashi during Bell Test. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by FriTik and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Kakashi POV present. Kakashi trudged down the academy hall at a leisurely pace as if he were not 3 hours late to picking up his new genin team, which he kind of wanted to fail like all those prior but had more reasons not to fail. For starters, the son of his sensei, the man who had practically raised him, was on the team, not that anyone seemed to realize it despite the very obvious resemblance. Another matter was the fact that Obito's last remaining loyal relative was on the team, which led to the fact that he was the only person with a Sharingan in the village, so when the boy activated his, he was the only one who could properly teach him to use it. Of course, he also had one perfectly normal eye, but nobody paid attention to that. Stupid IWA ninja. Stupid rocks crushing best friend. Stupid two-eyed freaks. But he digressed. He finally made his way to the designated classroom, and felt the hairs stand up on the back of his neck. Survival instincts that had saved his life countless times in the field. But for some reason they couldn't save his right eye or get him out of the way of a stupid falling boulder. Figuring one of his potential new students was just pulling a stupid prank, likely Naruto if the boy's track record was anything to go by, he opened the classroom door fully, intent on taking whatever prank it was and lowering his students' expectations, only to mindfuck them later. So he opened the door and walked into perhaps the closest thing to hell the ninja world had ever known. Countless dead ninja across the 3 shinobi world wars disagreed, but that's not important right now. What is important is that Kakashi really should have read his 3 students' files before taking them on. Naruto POV, 6 years ago. Naruto was concerned. Now most children his age would be concerned about normal things like getting new toys or eating ice cream for dinner or staying up late on school nights or making chunin. Somewhere a dog masked Anbu sneezed. No, what Naruto was concerned about was that he might, just maybe, be a 9-tailed fox demon. Okay, this might not seem likely, given that he clearly was a 6-year-old blonde-haired whiskered boy, but that's not the point. The point is that for some reason just about every civilian in the village seemed to hate him, as well as a fair number of the shinobi forces. So much so as to refuse to sell stuff to him, and tell their children to stay away from him because he was dangerous. For the most part people chose to ignore him, which he was sometimes okay with. Other times he would give anything for someone to look at him with something, anything, other than pure hate in their eyes. But sometimes when he was sneaking around trying to pickpocket people for some extra real, the fact people ignored him made it somewhat easier, and scrounging for something to try adding to his ramen to make it taste better he would hear the adults whisper. It was not always about him, but usually he would be mentioned in some whispered conversation at least once a day. They would talk about the demon brat or the Kyuubi brat, or sometimes just plain demon or Kyuubi. He had heard these more often when he was younger and people would mutter it on the street, but when those people disappeared and no one ever saw them again, the whispers eventually stopped. Naruto had to wonder what happened to them. Then again, maybe he didn't want to know. The more he thought about it, the more Naruto thought there was fair chance he was definitely the Kyuubi. There were the creepy guys in masks who always followed him around, and he would sometimes catch glimpses of that he somehow just knew were always there. Then there was the fact that Hokage took a special interest in him for no apparent reason. Also the way the civilians acted around him. It all made sense if he really thought about it. The guys in masks were around in case he ever lost control, and the Hokage looked in on him to make sure he didn't going to regain his obviously lost memories and powers. It also explained why parents told their children not to play with him. If he were a parent, he wouldn't let his kids play with a demon that could potentially lose control and attack his child. So he had a good deal of evidence to suspect he was the Kyuubi that had nearly destroyed the village and killed lots of people on the day of his birth. More proof. The 4th Hokage had supposedly killed it, but wouldn't that leave a rather large body lying around? Therefore he came to the obvious assumption that the 4th Hokage used his awesome ninja powers to take away his own powers and memories and transform him into a little baby human. Meanwhile, in the belly of the Shinigami, Namake's Minato had an unsettling feeling that his son had come to a seemingly logical but also very wrong assumption. How does one describe such a feeling? He'd call it asramjik. Yeah, that would work. He was feeling asramjik about his son. Naruto wasn't quite sure how he felt about that. Yeah, he had been destroying the village, but surely he had a very good reason for doing it? Maybe, but he could worry about that later. While he suspected that he was the 9-tailed demon fox, he had no actual proof in regards to it. So he did what any demon in child form would do. He asked an adult, "Mister, am I the Kyuubi?" He asked a confused-looking and strangely dressed man who was walking through the park. This strange man, who wasn't even wearing sandals, gave him a look, and said in a funny accent, "Fuck if I know, can you tell me where I am this time? You're in the park, and why don't you know if I'm a demon? All the other adults seem to know." Naruto explained with frustration, "Yeah, I know I'm in a park. I meant what planet/universe/alternate dimension am I in this time?" The man counted off the words on his fingers. Naruto stared blankly, only recognizing the words and planet and alternate. "You're in Konoha. Why would you be in any of those places?" "Because my boss is goddamn sociopath who likes testing out stuff on me." The man grunted. "Look, if you're a demon then you're probably the nicest one I've met, not to mention, only, despite what people say about Johnny. Like his ego needs to get bigger. He muttered the last part. I'll ask someone else. Naruto decided and started walking away, wondering what a sociopath was. Have fun. I hope this place has alcohol. I need a lot of it. The man said and walked in the opposite direction. After some searching, he encountered a woman who was watching her children play on the playground. That looked like fun. He never got to play on the playground. The other kids would chase him away before he could get close. The woman made some sort of hissing noise at him as he approached, but he ignored it and came to a stop in front of her. She glared at him but didn't make any moves. Am I the QB? Naruto asked once again. The woman froze, shock overlaying the hate in her eyes. How that was a nice change. What? She said almost weakly as the hate returned a bit, but mostly confusion and shock went out. Well, nobody likes me except Hokage, but I think he might just be keeping an eye on me. And people sometimes call me demon and QB brat and stuff, and I'm asking you cause the last guy didn't know and went to get drunk. Naruto explained proudly. He had put a lot of clearly rational thought into this. The woman said nothing and just stared. The corners of her mouth tightened, but apart from that she didn't move. Miss? Naruto asked, a bit worried. Had he broken her or something? The woman continued to say nothing, but slowly glanced around as though searching for something out of view. Maybe she was looking for the masked guys, but there were none of them around. Naruto was good at losing them. Or maybe they just ignored him like everyone else sometimes. Without another word to him, the woman stood up, beckoned her children and left the park, leaving Naruto standing there. Maybe he needed a different approach. Sakura POV, same age. Sakura was starting to get worried. There were times when she couldn't remember anything. Memory blanks, she guessed she could call them. They were strange and happened at seemingly random times, but there were a few patterns if she looked closely. For example, just a few days earlier she had borrowed a big kid book that had more than 100 pages from the library. When she got home she immediately sat down to read it, opening to the first page only to be turning the last page a second later. Not to mention the sun was lower in the sky now. When she sat down to dinner that night, her parents had asked her how the book was and she had said she hadn't read it yet. Her mother looked confused and said she had come into Sakura's room to pick up her laundry, and she had been happily reading it. Sakura just giggled nervously and said she was joking. Her father had told her she shouldn't lie, while her mother looked at her suspiciously. That wasn't the first time either. There was this mean girl on the playground named Ami who would bully the other kids on the playground. On this particular day she had been picking on Sakura for her slightly larger than average forehead. 1 second Sakura had been about to burst into tears. The next Ami was on the ground clutching her arm, and Sakura was full of anger and had a distinct feeling of satisfaction. Then another time when she came across a bird with an injured wing. She remembered feeling worried about it, and suddenly she was stepping out of the veterinarian's office with no idea how she got there. She had immediately turned around to find out what she was doing there, and before she could ask, the nice lady at the desk said she had done a good thing by bringing the bird there. She had mumbled out a thanks, and then left feeling rather confused. Right now she was walking down an alley so she could think without outside distraction. She would have blanks when she was upset about something, when she was reading something new, and when someone needed help. It was strange. Maybe she should ask her new friend Ino about it, and find out if she had noticed anything. That was when the blonde boy fell off a building and landed face down in front of her. She screamed and blanked out. Inner Sakura glared angrily at the boy laying in front of her. He did not appear to be breathing. That just made her angrier. How dare he upset her, and then die so she couldn't take it out on him. She angrily kicked the corpse, which suddenly burst into red flames. Inner yelped and leaped backwards, landing on her butt. She stared for a moment before realizing it wasn't exactly fire surrounding the boy's body, but some form of something. Whatever it was, he wasn't burning. How dare he freak her out like that? She would have violently disciplined the red glowing corpse if the red stuff didn't make her feel like curling up in a ball and crying. How dare he do that? The red died down after a moment, and left a boy that was definitely breathing and not dead. He groaned and pushed himself up, looking around groggily, as though he had woken up from a rather long nap. How dare he cheat the laws of life and death? Why? He mumbled blandly as Inner slammed her fist into the side of his head and, with a surprising amount of strength for a 6-year-old, sent him flipping into the wall of a building with his neck at a funny angle. It was actually quite disturbing looking. How dare he do something weird like that with his neck? Inner out, peace. Sakura blinked in confusion when she saw the boy that had just been laying face down in front of her now resting face pressed against the wall with his neck at a slightly off angle. Okami, was he dead? Why was he dead? Was this another Ami situation? Then a red glow leapt to life around the boy and emanated a vile feeling that made her skin crawl. It also felt familiar, even though she could not recall ever seeing it before. There was a snapping noise that made her flinch, and the red glow vanished and Sakura managed to even her breathing again. That was scary. Maybe she should make sure the boy wasn't dead. He seemed a bit familiar though, and not in a good way. Ow, my neck. He grunted as he pulled himself to his feet. He glanced around and dusted himself off. He hadn't seemed to notice Sakura yet. Maybe if she was lucky it would stay that way. This boy was not normal. I'm not dead. He noted, and a grin split his features. That proves it. I can't die, so it must be true. He finally noticed Sakura. Oh, hi there. He greeted her. Why, you just died. Sakura told him and felt very confused and scared. Oh. He looked downtrodden about that fact. So am I dead now? He asked. You just got up after that red glowy stuff covered you. She wrinkled her nose. It was yucky. Aha! The boy who had whiskers on his cheeks cheered. I knew it. I am the Kyubi no Yuko. Sakura stared at the other child who had just loudly and happily declared himself the night-tailed demon fox. You don't look like a demon fox. The boy rolled his eyes at her. Well, that's obviously because the fourth Hokage sealed away my powers with his super ninja skills. She finally recognized the boy. I remember you now. My parents said to stay away from you because you were dangerous. The boy nodded sagely. Exactly, everyone's parents say that. It must be because I'm a demon. But no one will tell me if I'm right. He ground out angrily. Sakura backed away slowly before turning and bursting into a run. At home that night during dinner her parents asked her how her day was. It was weird. I went down an alley and a boy fell off a building, died, got back up and told me he was the Kyubi that destroyed the village 6 years ago. She chewed some of her pork. Also, I think I keep forgetting stuff. Needless to say, dinner became an interesting affair after that. Sasuke POV. 1 month before graduation, Sasuke muttered thank to Jashin-sama after completing the sacrifice of the small dead animal in front of him. After the massacre, Sasuke felt aimless. His bro, that man, had told him he was too weak to kill at the time, but that didn't make much sense. That man had also killed dozens of children younger than he was, not to mention elderly people who couldn't even get out of bed. That man had said hate would make him strong, but he wasn't sure he believed that. If anything, from what he had seen of Ida, that man, hate did not make him strong, but killing did. After thinking about it, Sasuke had come to a conclusion. Hate was a way to get stronger, but it wasn't the way to become strongest. To beat that man, he needed to be the strongest, so he would kill. But he hadn't been sure how killing made him stronger, so he decided to research the matter. Through research he discovered Jashin-sama and his commandments, and through these he found salvation. That man was a godless killing machine. Sasuke would be a killing machine, but would do it in the name of Jashin-sama and through him find salvation. Also vengeance, especially vengeance. Unfortunately, at this point in time Sasuke couldn't fulfill all the commandments, namely thou shalt kill thy family, but he would work on it. Also the tiny fact it was illegal to kill people at this point in time. Until he could kill humans as the commandments directed, he would pray for Jashin-sama's mercy until he could become a ninja and then legally kill people and still be able to eventually kill his brother. For now he would sacrifice animals to his savior. Of course, being an academy student was far from grandeur. He was the last Uchiha, and almost all the girls in the class fawned over him because of that. He would have sacrificed them to Jashin-sama, illegal or not, but he didn't want to insult his god with such pathetic sacrifices. So for now he would settle for the small animals. Of course, that didn't mean he was oblivious in class. He paid attention to as much as he could. He had to learn everything so he could kill that man when the time came. He also noticed some of the weird habits of his classmates. For instance, the Hyuga girl would go red in the face whenever she was around a certain blonde-haired idiot, more on him later, and seemed unable to speak a sentence without stuttering. Perhaps he should introduce her to Jashin-sama, and through him she could find salvation like himself. Then there was the pink-haired girl, or girls maybe. She would act differently all the time. Sometimes she would be an ordinary fangirl. This seemed to be her default. Other times she was a violent fangirl. This would happen whenever the arguments over who liked him more would get out of hand. When she was like this, she was always angry, and constantly hit things for even the smallest reason, like breathing too loudly. That was just the beginning too. When reading or taking a test she would suddenly don glasses and stutter like the Hyuga, only not nearly as much. When she was like this she was shy, friendly, and most certainly not obsessed over him. Then whenever someone was hurt one way or another she would suddenly be at their side, medical extraordinaire. She would diagnose whatever was wrong and with a voice full of authority would order around both classmates and teachers with a tone that gave no room for argument. Then there was Naruto. Sasuke honestly did not even know. Nor was he sure he wanted to know. He was not sure whether to sacrifice the blonde to Jashin-sama or to pray that Jashin-sama protect him from the insanity the boy clearly had. Naruto was the only one who could last more than 10 seconds in a match with him, but that was only because the whiskered boy was quick and had a boatload of stamina. Sasuke normally won in the end unless the other boy managed to trick him into stepping out of bounds, but that didn't happen much anymore. Apart from that, the boy seemed quite dense. In everything. Except seals, or what they had learned of them anyway. It was creepy actually. Also, it led to how Sasuke learned of the blonde's probably insane belief. Anyway, when they started a brief overview of seals 3 years ago, the instructor had called him out to make an embarrassment of him in front of the entire class like he always did. For some reason Sasuke could not have fathomed at the time. But instead of a complete failure of a basic storage seal, it had been a perfect one. In fact, it was slightly improved. The Chunin instructor had been so confused and been muttering impossible when Naruto apologized. Sorry for anything I did in my past life. The blonde had said, much to the confusion of everyone, but the instructor froze and stared. What? He breathed out finally. Not really a question, just an exclamation of shock. Sorry for anything I did to you. I can't really remember, but apparently it was pretty bad, so sorry. Naruto shrugged nonchalantly as the rest of class stared at him. The instructor stared for a moment longer before finally muttering, nice work, before he continued to teach the class as if nothing had happened. Needless to say, everyone that wasn't a Sasuke fangirl had wanted to know what that was about at lunch. Sasuke had been elected to make the demand by silent consent. He had marched up to the outdoor lunch table with a number of other boys in their class gathering around to see if they could get the answer. Okay, dope, what was that? The junior Jashinist demanded. What the seal or the apology? Cause I got no clue with the seal, it just kind of seemed obvious for some reason, but there was this one part that didn't look right, so the boy started rambling before Sasuke cut him off. No, not that. Although he was pretty interested in that. The apology thing. Oh. That. Naruto noted. He looked conflicted briefly before shrugging. I think I might be the Kyuubi no Yuko trapped in human form. No one said anything? Sasuke's eye twitched. No. What? Naruto asked. No, you are not the Kyuubi, there is no way. Some other guys nodded in agreement. Hear me out. Naruto pleaded as he folded his hands on the table in front of him as though at a meeting. Almost all the adults hate me for some reason. When I was younger they would call me things like demon and stuff. Hokage took a special interest in me for no apparent reason. There are a bunch of masked guys who sometimes follow me around. There is no way ANBU follow you around. Kiba said. There's one in that tree over there. Naruto jabbed a thumb at said tree. The nearby tree shouted shit. Making everyone's except Naruto's eyes, leaves rustled briefly and a number fell to the ground. Everyone turned back to Naruto, who pointed looking very justified. See? I told you. I still don't believe you. Sasuke told him. I mean, if you were a demon, how did you become a human child? Well, obviously the fourth Hokage used his awesome ninja skills to seal away my powers and memories so I wouldn't hurt anyone anymore. Naruto said. That's kinda a good thing. I want to turn over a new leaf if I really did kill all those people. Troublesome. One Shikamaru muttered. It makes sense, but the whole thing just comes off as this Ramjuk to me. That's not a word. Also, I don't think we're supposed to know, so don't tell anyone. Naruto said. Also, no one will tell me if I'm right or not. He pouted. Have you ever asked anyone? Kiba asked, still skeptical. 2 people. Naruto nodded. The first guy said he didn't know, asked what universe he was in and then went to get drunk, never saw him again. Then I asked some mom and she just hissed at me, stared for a while, then left with her kids. He got a bunch of blank looks. I stopped asking after that. Some of the boys just shrugged and walked off at this point. Others muttered something about crazy blondes. Shikamaru just muttered troublesome and left with Chuji trailing behind like a lost puppy. Soon only Sasuke and Naruto were left staring at each other. I will not accept this until we get proof. Sasuke told him. Then we'll get proof, cause I want to know too, Databail. Naruto agreed, and thus began one of the oddest friendships ever. Well, at least not since that one in that one fanfiction I planned to write that was in the past, and may or may not come to pass. But that's not important right now. Hey Sasuke, you done murdering small animals yet? Speak of the devil fox. I'm not murdering them, I'm sacrificing them to Jashin-sama. Sasuke glared. Naruto held his hands up in a placating gesture. Alright, same thing if you asked me. He muttered the last part. You get that stupid sword of yours yet? The blonde asked, referring to an order Sasuke had put in for an obviously oversized sword that he had managed to pull some strings to get. Being the last Uchiha with the funds of the entire clan behind him had its advantages. Maybe you figure out the Bushin Jutsu yet? Sasuke smirked, knowing it was a sore spot. Yes, actually. Naruto smirked at Sasuke's disbelieving face. But I have to make like 1,000 of them for it to work properly. Oh boo-hoo, I'm Naruto Baka and I'm a demon and I have too much chakra. Sasuke mocked. It's not funny. Naruto glared before snapping his fingers. Oh yeah, so you know how Mizuki really hates me but pretends not to? Yeah? Sasuke said, wondering where this was going. So I got a plan to finally get our answer. Naruto smirked. And it might get you your first human sacrifice. Sasuke remained silent for a moment. Naruto's plans normally led to chaos and destruction whether it was done with good intentions or not. Then again, finally proving if the blonde boy was a demon or not, as well as getting a real sacrifice for Jashin-sama. I'm listening. Iruka's POV, night after academy final exam. No Mizuki, don't, it's forbidden. Iruka yelled at his friend turned traitor, not really for his sake but rather for Naruto's, who he had come to realize definitely was not a monster. Shut up. It doesn't matter at this point, soon I'll be gone and you'll both be dead. The traitor's Chunin grinned sadistically. Iruka grimaced with pain and realized there wasn't anything he could do to stop his former friend. Turned his attention to Naruto, who was still holding the forbidden scroll he was tricked into stealing. Naruto, don't listen to him. 12 years ago the fourth Hokage died fighting the Kyuubi no Yuko. Mizuki started. Naruto, run! Iruka yelled at the boy, shouting over Mizuki's words. The boy, who instead of leaving actually had a look of was that anticipation, yielded away. You are the demon fox, Naruto. Mizuki finished grinning. Whatever Iruka had expected, it was most certainly not a cheerful grin. I knew it! Naruto cried out, leaving the 2 Chunin dumbfounded. Naruto, what? Iruka managed, wondering if he should rework his opinion of the blonde. Well, everyone's hated me for some reason as long as I can remember. I put a bunch of facts together and figured I was the Kyuubi in human form so I couldn't hurt anyone anymore, Naruto explained. Since I can't remember anything and don't have powers, I couldn't prove it though. But now I know and can start making up for anyone I killed or hurt when I was a monster. He finished cheerfully. Iruka couldn't quite decide if that was touching or concerning. Maybe both. Probably both. Oh yeah, almost forgot. Naruto paused. Hey team, did you hear that? He called out. Yes, you baka, I heard it. Uchiha Sasuke came trudging out of the trees with a sword really too big for him strapped to his back and his hitai wrapped loosely around his neck. Iruka couldn't help but wonder what the actual hell was happening. Did you draw it? He asked Naruto. Yeah, and by the way, that is a pretty messed up SEAL team. If Mizuki weren't a traitor, I wouldn't do it. He told the Uchiha boy. Now listen, her Mizuki started, but Sasuke cut him off when he was suddenly in front of him swinging his spiky skull-hilted sword at the Chunin. Sasuke was fast for a genin, or pre-genin, until he passed his Jonin instructor's test, but Mizuki was still in Chunin and managed to get out of the way of the blade with only a small scratch. I thought you were Rookie of the Year? Mizuki taunted Sasuke, who didn't even attempt to press the attack and instead turned around and walked to a spot near Naruto and inspected something on the ground. You sure you did this right? He asked Naruto. Sasuke, I'm not good at much, but I am awesome at seals. He told the other boy. Remind me who exactly did the thing to you and your sword. HN. Sasuke grunted before looking back to Mizuki and holding up his blade near his face. Iruka was feeling really confused at this point but remained silent, wondering where it was going. Also, he was still bleeding out. A creepy sadistic smile spread across the last loyal Uchiha's face as he licked Mizuki's blood off the sword. The change was almost instantaneous as his skin seemed to almost invert save for a skull-like white shape on his face. Sasuke then took a step backwards into whatever he had been examining on the ground before. A panicked look came over Mizuki's face. What? Why can't I move? He began trembling in place, Iruka assumed, in a struggle to move. Sasuke cackled maniacally and raised his sword to the sky. Jashin-sama! He cried out, take this soul your humble servant offers you as tribute. He then lowered the blade, turned it towards himself and then, to Iruka's horror and Naruto's panic, shoved it through his chest. The result was instantaneous. A spray of blood erupted from Mizuki's chest in the same place that Sasuke had stabbed himself. Mizuki's eyes went wide with pain and shock as he coughed up some blood. The traitor collapsed on the ground, dying and unable to speak through the blood filling up his lungs and ruptured esophagus. Iruka turned his attention to the now surely dead last Uchiha, but instead of lying in a similar position to Mizuki, Sasuke instead seemed to be shivering in pleasure. Damn it, Sasuke team! Naruto swore. I know I did it right, but seriously, if anything had gone wrong that would have killed you. You couldn't have tested it out first or something? He ranted. Sasuke grunted as he yanked the sword out of his chest. That would be an insult to Jashin-sama. I put my faith in him. If he decided to take me now, that would be my end. Despite his words, Iruka could have sworn he heard a hint of relief in the boy's tone. And you call me an idiot? Naruto rolled his eyes before seeming to realize Iruka was still there. Oh yeah, Iruka-sensei. First, sorry if I did anything to you when I was a giant jerky fox. Also, I actually can do the Bushin no Jutsu, and I learned the Kage Bushin no Jutsu a little while ago. So can I be a genin now? Hey, you don't look too good. How much blood have you lost? Oh crap. Hiruzen's POV. That same night, Hiruzen Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage of Konohagakure, Kami no Shinobi. The professor could honestly say for the first time in years he was at a complete loss as to what to do. He knew the day would eventually come when Naruto would find out about the Kyuubi. Unfortunately, it seemed like the boy had figured out there was some sort of connection years ago, and came to his own conclusions on the matter. Now he wasn't sure if he should tell the boy the truth, which would still have a lot of holes in it, as he couldn't tell him everything. Or he could let Naruto keep believing he was indeed the Kyuubi, given a second chance as a human to make up for the horrible deeds of the past. The second option might actually work best in this situation. It seemed that one Yurumi Iruka had passed Naruto at some point before losing consciousness and being taken into the care of a pink-haired girl who called herself Missy but was identified by witnesses as Hirano Sakura, a recently graduated academy student who had some weird habits and personality traits. He'd look into it later. For now he had to deal with a boy who thought he was a demon and the potential return of the Jashin cult right here in Konoha. Damn you, Minato, you had to go and do something noble like die, leaving your orphan son to decide he was a demon, and for himself to deal with the fallout and all the other crazy stuff that happened in this village. Naruto and Hiruzen started not really sure where to go with this conversation. It's fine, Gigi. Naruto shrugged nonchalantly. I get why you didn't tell me anything about it, and why you kept an eye on me with all those ANBU guys. But I promise I'll make up for all the bad things I did. I promise I won't sacrifice anyone in the village to Jashin-sama. Uchiha Sasuke added helpfully. The for now went unsaid, of course. Hiruzen decided he would leave well enough alone for now. At least there would be Kakashi's problem soon. No more having to fear that he and Danzo would start bonding over that whole one-eye thing they both seemed to have going on. He was getting too old to deal with this crap. Also, he should probably recall Jiraiya to talk to him about his godson. General POV, team assignments. I still don't believe you. Kiba decided. Ugh. What more do you want? Mizuki actually came out and told me I was the Kyuubi. Naruto complained, pulling his hair in frustration. Then why don't you just have Mizuki tell us then? Kiba smirked. I would. Except Sasuke sacrificed him to Jashin, Naruto muttered, looking crestfallen. Kiba and Akamaru glanced over towards where Sasuke sat praying with a set of prayer beads. Nope, not getting involved in that. Before anyone else could contribute to the age-old class discussion of is Naruto a nine-tailed demon fox? Which he was, as he knew for certain now. If Mizuki hadn't been both a traitor and dead, he would have thanked him. A cry of Shinaro caused more than half the class to duck under their desks. Now this might seem a bit odd, but they had been dealing with one Hirano Sakura for 4 years now and were thus used to her multiple personalities, the most violent of which, Inner, commonly introduced herself with punching someone while shouting Shinaro. This time it appeared to be Ino as the clan heiress came crashing through the wall with a smirking Inner following her through the hole in the wall. I win! Where's my Sasuke-kun? Wisely her fellow students pointed towards the empty seat next to Sasuke. She almost seemed to teleport into the seat as she sat next to her Sasuke-kun. Oh, Sasuke-kun, Inner cooed with hearts in her eyes. Not now, I'm praying to Jashin-sama. Sasuke told her without even bothering to change position. Inner blinked before rolling with it. You could sacrifice me to Jashin-sama if you want. A number of people shuddered at the way she said this. Sasuke now opened a single eye and narrowed it at her. Like hell, I'd insult Jashin-sama by sacrificing a fangirl to him. If I'd sacrifice anyone in here, it would be Naruto, as it is stated in the commandments. Why don't you then? Inner asked, hoping to remove her competition. You think I haven't tried? Sasuke smirked. Everyone glanced at a completely healthy Naruto. Said Demon smiled and waved. The dobe is literally unkillable. Watch. Sasuke suddenly pulled out a kunai and chucked it at his friend. Everyone watched in horror as it sank into the blonde's throat, and he collapsed to the ground, briefly choking and gagging as blood gushed from the severed artery before going still. It was utter pandemonium after that, with a number of graduates, male and female, shrieking in terror. Inner was so shocked it allowed Missy to take over, who immediately rushed over to Naruto's side and began ordering people to get medical supplies. Sasuke watched the panic with amusement before yanking on the ninja wire tied to the kunai, pulling it out of Naruto's neck. For a moment nothing happened, then a red aura sprang to life around Naruto, pulsing vilely and causing a number of already terrified students to pass out as the ki filled the room. It then died down and let silence sit for a moment before Naruto groaned and sat up. What the hell, team? Just because it doesn't work does not mean you can kill me for your amusement whenever you want. Naruto was rubbing his sore neck. Gah, you stained my clothes too. I just got this cleaned. Everyone stared at the blonde who had just a moment ago died and was now acting as if he had just slept on his neck wrong. Kiba decided to concede there may be a distinct possibility that Naruto was a demon. Sakura blinked as she regained control of herself. She looked down at a bloody Naruto and shrieked, causing him to wince and cover his ears. Oh, Kami! Did Inner do that? Naruto, I may not like you, but I am so sorry. Did Missy already patch you up? Are you gonna die? The pinkette panicked. In order. Shikamaru cut in from where he leaned in his chair. Indirectly, she tried, and he already did. He sighed. Troublesome blondes. It was now that Iruka chose to walk in with a number of bandages wrapped around himself. He looked at the bloody Naruto and the red-stained kunai Sasuke was retrieving while Sakura sat on the floor and stared while the rest of class was in various states of consciousness. He sighed frustratedly. Sasuke, I told you no more trying to kill Naruto, and Naruto, I told you no demonic powers until you're your Jonin Sensei's problem. He sighed before pulling out the team assignments. Oh, and Sakura, tell Inner she has to patch the hole in the wall. And will someone wake Ino up? Kakashi POV, present time. Kakashi stared at the trio. The blood-stained yet cheerful son of his sensei, the sword-wielding praying last Uchiha, and Sakura, who was tied up in ninja wire and was currently gnawing at said restraints. He idly noticed the eraser that fell off the doorframe and bounced off his head, bringing their mutual attention to him. Naruto waved cheerfully. Sasuke gave him a one-eyed stare and Sakura growled at him. My first impression of you is you're weird. Meet me on the roof in 5 minutes. He then used Shunshin to get to the roof. 10 minutes later the trio finally arrived on the roof with Sakura now wearing glasses and reading a book. Sorry, Sensei. We would have been here sooner, but we figured that Lucy would be the best choice for first introductions, so we had to give Sakura a book she hasn't read yet. Naruto explained as though this was completely normal. Of course. Kakashi I smiled and let none of his confusion show. He bet that Lucy was really enjoying using both eyes to read though. Okay then. As we've just met, introduce yourselves. He told them. Sensei? A timid voice asked, and he looked to see Sakura had looked up from her book. You want to know about SB, but we don't know anything about you. Could you please introduce yourself? Sorry if I'm out of place. Ma, it's alright. Kakashi decided to placate them, slightly. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. Things I like and things I hate, my remaining eye and not much else, my best friend dying and failing the people I care about. I don't feel like telling you. My dreams for the future? Make amends somehow. Never really thought about it. As for my hobbies, reading porn in public, mourning all the people I failed, can guy be a hobby? I have a lot of hobbies. He got 3 frustrated looks in return. Heh. It was worth taking the team every graduation just to be able to screw with them for a little bit. Since you were so polite, why don't you go first, Pinky? He suggested. At least she didn't seem to be a fangirl. My name is Lucy Sakura. That doesn't sound right. I like learning and testing my knowledge. How she would do well as a scholar. I hate not knowing things. Fair enough. My hobbies are reading and thinking. I can relate. My dreams for the future learn everything. She gushed and Kakashi's sweat dropped. Just wait till you meet Inner. He heard Naruto snicker. Okay then bloody, why don't you go next then? My name is Uzumaki Naruto, though I used to have another name. I wonder what that means. My likes are ramen, gardening, training, and annoying Sasuke. Okami, he's like an Obito Minato Sensei hybrid. I hate thinking about what I did in my past life. Okay, what does that mean? Also dying. He added as an afterthought. Okay, that's fair. My dream for the future is to make amends for everyone I killed. Once again I can wait, what? When neither Lucy nor Sasuke responded to this final statement, Kakashi decided to take it up with the Hokage. Maybe he could explain why his sensei's son seemed to think he had killed people. Okay then, Kakashi said before turning to Sasuke. Duck, but your turn. Naruto giggled at the nickname. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. Okay, normal so far. I don't like much, but I worship Jashin-sama. Kami, damn it, almost got my hopes up. I hate not being able to properly make sacrifices to Jashin-sama, also a certain man. I expected part of that. My hobbies are praying to Jashin-sama and attempting to sacrifice Naruto. Keep trying, Duckbutt. I will. I need to keep an eye on these two. My ambition is to serve Jashin-sama and sacrifice a certain man to him. I am 95% done with this. Okay then. Well, now that we've introduced ourselves, I should probably tell you about the true genin test. Kakashi told them with a nice smile. I thought we already passed the genin test. Sasuke said with warning in his tone. Oh, that was just the pre-test. Kakashi told them, smirking under his mask. The true test is more hands-on, and this particular one has a 66% fail rate. It was actually 100% since he started giving it out, but they didn't need to know that. I recommend you don't have any breakfast, you'll just throw up. Also, it'll make the backup test more enjoyable for him. We'll pass your stupid test. Naruto decided, and Sasuke nodded in agreement. I may be in human form, but I'm still the Kyuubi no Yuko, and I have a lot of bad deeds to make up, so like hell I'll let you stop me, Databayo. Kakashi stared at Naruto and then glanced at his two teammates who had a disturbing lack of response for him, just revealing an S-class secret. Be at training ground 7 at 6. He said, then immediately used the Shunshin to get to the Hokage tower. He needed to talk with the Sandaime and check his students' files. Asuma POV, Team 10. No! I refuse to believe it! Sarutobi Asuma heard his female student cry as he arrived at the training field to give them their genin test. His students being the next incarnation of the Ino-Shikacho combination, he expected them to pass, but Ino did appear to be a fangirl. Hopefully she had some skill. He couldn't help but wonder what had set her off this time. Maybe Shikamaru had said something bad about her Sasuke-kun she had been talking about yesterday during introductions. Honestly, he couldn't understand where the fangirl persona came from in young Kunoichi, but it seemed to extend to every girl in each graduating class. He had talked to Kurenai about it last night, and she had admitted while her one female student wasn't obsessed over the last Uchiha, she had some form of crush on one Uzumaki. Naruto. Kakashi had strangely been absent, so he couldn't ask him about the fact he had the two boys that all the girls seemed obsessed over. Well, Sasuke more than Naruto, but still, believe or not, it's true. Shikamaru told her. He was resting against a tree with his arms behind his head. Choji was sitting nearby munching happily on a bag of chips. Am I interrupting something? Asuma decided to cut in and see if he could start trying to chip away at Ino's fangirlness. That is definitely a word. It wouldn't solve the lazy Nara problem, but it was a start. Nothing. Just that I apparently missed irrefutable proof Naruto is a demon. Ino growled. Wait, what? Asuma, deciding to try playing it cool, smartly said. How the he I mean what are you talking about, Ino? Naruto is in no way related to the Kyuubi no Yuko. Smooth Asuma, real smooth. Clearly Kurenai has much to gain from a relationship with this man. She doesn't believe it. Shikamaru muttered without bothering to even open his eyes. Pfft. Ino dismissed him. It's not that I don't believe the fact, it's I can't believe I missed the proof. Right in front of the entire class, and I'm unconscious because of stupid Inner. She ranted. You're the one who managed to upset Sakura enough for Inner to come out. I thought you would have learned by now. Shikamaru condescended as Asuma listened in dumbfounded. She's almost as troublesome as the rest of the class put together. Shikamaru paused and looked thoughtful. Then again, the fact that Sasuke is now willing to sacrifice humans to Jashin is rather troublesome news. He sighed and just hung his head and began to take a nap. So that was why Asuma hadn't seen Kakashi the previous night. The poor man was probably trying to figure out how to deal with those three. He couldn't help prevent the smirk as he thought of the one-eyed Jounin confronting his father about this. The previous night, Hokage's office. Explain. Now. Kakashi demanded, standing in front of the Sandaime's desk. Truth was he had no right to demand anything, but that wasn't important right now. Whatever do you mean, Kakashi-kun? Hiruzen asked innocently, not even looking up from his paperwork. But Kakashi wasn't buying what he was selling. Unless it was a time travel jutsu, no, that would just be silly. Why does Naruto think he's the Kyuubi? Why does Sasuke worship that horrible religion? And what the hell is up with the pink one? Kakashi listed off the major concerns he had gained after meeting his team. In order? The Sandaime Hokage glanced up at his subordinate. Read his file, read his file, and finally read her file. He informed the silver-haired jounin. Kakashi's eye twitched. Is there a problem? Hiruzen raised an eyebrow at the last Hatake. I don't read the files. I am Hatake Kakashi. If word got out I was paying actual attention to my subordinates, I would never hear the end of it. Kakashi complained. That wasn't to say he didn't care about those under his command. In truth he cared very much. But it was the fact that he had a reputation to maintain, and if word got out he was showing his care, it would be the end of his hip street rep. He could not allow that to happen. Oh Kami, what if Guy were to find out? Ah, my eternal rival! Who knew you could show such care and concern for your most youthful students? The spandex-covered jounin cried manly tears of joy. In honor of your beautiful flames of youth I will run 6 laps around the land of fire on my hands, and if I cannot do that I shall do 10,000 chin-ups in a spaceship going to a planet with blue grass and green skies, and if I cannot do that I will ask you, my beloved eternal rival, to marry me so our flames of youth will never extinguish. Kakashi! The Hokage's concerned shout brought the poor survivor's guilt victim out of his horror-induced daydream, or perhaps daymare would be a better word. Cannot be known. Kakashi hissed. His Hokage regarded him with a concerned look before continuing. You're a ninja, one of our best in fact. As in a well-trained soldier in stealth and assassination, how hard could it possibly be for you to sneakingly get your team's files, read them, and put them back before anyone notices? Hiruzen asked him. Kakashi stared for a moment. You have the files on you right now, don't you? He finally deduced. The Sandaime pulled out the files and handed them to the masked man. I won't tell a soul. He promised sagely. Thank you? Kakashi said as he slipped the documents into his jacket, and used Shunshin to leave in a swirl of leaves. When the last of the leaves finally floated to the ground, the Sandaime turned his attention to the hidden Tenzo who was acting as one of his ANBU guards that night. Did you get it? The Mokuton wielder discreetly slipped out of hiding and presented a video camera. Everyone in ANBU will know within the week. Tenzo confirmed. Hiruzen let out a laugh he hadn't realized he needed until that moment. Naruto POV. The next morning, Training Ground 7. Naruto was bored. Aboard Naruto meant many terrible things were about to happen, and there would be no rejoicing. Naruto had a number of odd tendencies that appeared whenever he had nothing else to do, most notably his tendency to find ways of getting on everyone else's nerves, but that might just be because he was the Kyuubi no Yuko. Speaking of which, so called it, there was a reason for Naruto's boredom. You see, his new sensei, or potential sensei as it may be, was late. He was very late, in fact. Thus the origin of Naruto's boredom. Ugh, why did his new sensei have to be an annoying lazybones? Like a hoodie-wearing skeleton who was actually a badass in a fight. Did he mention he was bored? So while Sasuke prayed to Jashin and Sakura made gooey eyes at him, Naruto decided to wander around the training ground setting up various pranks and traps. So what if he was supposed to be a jounin? And his sensei? Turning over a new leaf or not, nobody makes the fearsome Kyuubi no Yuko wait, as he wandered into the woods only receiving a fleeting glance from Sakura, who, while cute, firmly seemed obsessed with giving herself to Sasuke. He took his time to discern the best and worst places to set up his vengeance. The traps and pranks vary from simply to the equivalent of rocket science. Everything from trees that would catch fire when you touch them to simple holes in the ground. He even had set up a few seals that would stick the recipient inside like a storage seal. Naruto was careful with those. He didn't want to get stuck inside one for about 30 years or so until a hapless genin team found him. In an alternate universe, a spiky-haired redhead sneezed. After about 2 hours of setting up his overly complicated series of revenge traps, he wandered back to the clearing to discover that his team's new sensei had yet to arrive. So apparently the whole 3 hours late thing was going to become a trend. Great. You set up some traps? Sasuke noted without looking up. I can neither confirm nor deny such accusations, Naruto stated. He then realized what Sasuke was going to ask. No, I won't help you kill our sensei. Once was bad enough even if he was a traitor. I don't need that on my reputation. I'm trying to be a good person now. Sasuke grunted and gave him a deadpan stare while Sakura just stared blankly at the bickering. Despite her obsession with Sasuke, she wasn't all that familiar with the relationship between him and Naruto, who she now knew was the Kyuubi. Eventually she appeared to get over whatever she was thinking and finally acted. Naruto Baka, you should listen to Sasuke-kun. He was Rookie of the Year. He also wants me to help him sacrifice our sensei to Jashin. He can make his own damn seal. It's not that hard. Naruto ranted. Some of us aren't sealing prodigies though. Sasuke noted. I'm not going to help you Suedo murder our sensei, Naruto said with a tone that should have left no discussion. Unfortunately, he was dealing with a devout follower of Jashin, so that wasn't gonna happen. Can you at least make sure I do it right? I don't want to stab myself with no purpose. It would be an insult to Jashin-sama's blessing, Sasuke told directed. That's not the issue here. If it were enemy ninja or bandits I would help you, but you want to kill our new sensei, Naruto complained. Sakura once again appeared lost. The commandment states, Sasuke started. Sasuke, listen to me. As the closest thing to a friend you have, it is my duty to tell you that when the demon is trying to teach you the value of human life, there is something wrong. Sakura seemed to freeze up, but Naruto disregarded it. Jashin-sama understands the value, which is why he demands it as sacrifice from his followers to show him our loyalty. Sasuke lectured him like he was speaking to wayward youth. Human sacrifice? You are quite right, Uzumaki-san, there is something very wrong with Uchiha-san here. The duo turned their attention to their female teammate, and quickly realized who was currently in charge, both of the body and the situation. Missy, the bane of all other forms of authority. Also all known medical ailments. That was terrifying for the billions of tiny germs and bacteria that none of them could see, but who cares about them? Let's have a seat, Uchiha-san. Missy directed, conveniently ignoring the fact he was already sitting down. Her lab coat, where had she gotten that? Blew dramatically in the wind behind her. Perhaps you as well, Uzumaki-san. You undoubtedly have a guilty conscience considering your previous status as the Kyuubi no Yuko. Sasuke and Naruto most certainly did not like the look on the pink-haired girl's face as she pulled out a clipboard and pen. She scribbled down something before glancing back up at them. Well? She said in a calm tone, what are you waiting for? Sit down. It wasn't said loudly or even more seriously, but something about the way she said it made Naruto plop to the ground without a second thought. Now then, Uchiha-san, Missy directed at Sasuke, tell me about your childhood. Kakashi POV. Half an hour later. Kakashi was a tad confused when he finally arrived at the training ground. This was mostly due to the fact that two of his potential students were sobbing while the last one was taking notes on a clipboard. He had been up late the night before reading through his new students' files and was a bit more than mildly concerned. Naruto apparently really did think he was the Kyuubi, and now had some sort of complex to make up for everything he did. Sasuke had turned to religion when his family had died and planned to use his newfound faith to kill his brother. And Sakura, the person who had done the psyche reviews, was actually fairly confused about her. 4 distinct personalities had been identified, but nobody had any idea what brought them about. Normally some form of childhood trauma would cause this to occur, but there had been none in Sakura's case. And he's just so annoying. I have no idea how we ended up as acquaintances. I mean, if I could kill him I would. But he doesn't seem able to die, so at least he won't just leave me here like everyone else. Sasuke ranted as Sakura took notes in a notepad. Very interesting. Tell me more about you, brother. Itachi, was it? Sakura, who probably wasn't Sakura right now, asked. That man, Sasuke hissed, is not my brother. What he is a sacrifice to Jashin-sama to both appease him and avenge my family. Interesting. Sakura muttered quickly, writing some more notes. But what about me? Naruto asked, sniffling. Why did my parents never come looking for me when I got turned into a human? Did they even care about me? Maybe they left me when I was a little fox kid, and that's why I became an evil monster. I'm not an expert on demons, so I'm not sure you even had parents, Naruto. Kakashi twitched at her explanation. He knew for a fact that Naruto was not a demon, and did indeed have parents. Also the fact that he personally knew and mourned the kid's parents also factored into it. That makes it even worse. Naruto cried out. Well, isn't this curious? Kakashi noted truthfully as he walked into the clearing. He decided to downplay his true feelings on the matter. Ah, hello, Sensei. Missy, he had deduced it was based on the characterizations in the files he had reviewed the previous night, didn't even look up as she scribbled some additional notes. Are we going to be starting the test soon? Well, that was the plan. Kakashi said, putting a hand on his chin dramatically. But given the current state of your teammates, perhaps I should just fail you now. Missy froze and Sasuke and Naruto pulled themselves back together. All within 3 seconds. Not too shabby for Genin. He was just beginning to plan how he run the Torment test, when the pencil in Missy's hand snapped. Except it wasn't Missy's hand anymore. What was that, Sensei? I thought I heard you say that you would just fail us because those two are emotional wrecks. But you couldn't have said that, because then I would have to RIP your intestines out and wear them as a scarf, CHA. Inner Sakura roared. Naruto and Sasuke took one large step back a piece from Inner as Kakashi smiled in amusement. Well, that's the right kind of drive you need for this test, Kakashi said happily, ignoring the aura of death emanating from his female student's most violent personality. You see, I have 2 bells. He held up said bells for the children to see. Whoever can get a bell before this timer runs out. He held up his other hand with a timer sitting in it. Will pass. Whoever doesn't will be tied to a pole without lunch and be sent back to academy. That doesn't sound right, Sakura said. Apparently she had calmed down while he was talking. A pity the violent one looked rather interesting. Each team is made of 3 genin and a jounin sensei. She's right. Sasuke agreed with her. He said we all had to get a bell, right? So that just means each of us just has to get a bell at one point, not that we all need to have one at the end. Naruto deduced. Kakashi felt like tearing up as he watched his prospective team tear apart the bell test that had defeated ninja in training mightier than they. Of course that could just be a fault of his wording. Oh well, they still had to work together to pass. How about we all go after him at once? Naruto suggested. One of us has got to manage to get a bell. Sasuke agreed. Then we just pass it around to everyone. Kakashi's eye twitched. His good eye. Well, the good eye that was actually his. And not his dead best friend's Sharingan. He forced himself to breath. Just stick with the plan, Hatake. Just stick with the plan. You'll have to come at me with everything you have. He was cut off before he could continue by the sword that he could have sworn was on Sasuke's back came close to taking his head off. He said as he came at Kakashi again. The Uchiha was surprisingly fast for his age and rank. If he could hold on to his speed he could be deadly in the future. Of course for now Kakashi was far faster than he could dream of being. The sword strikes were fast and targeted vital points such as the neck, but they were sloppy and imprecise. Sasuke had a long way to go apparently, even if he was a so-called prodigy, though Kakashi assumed that was just hype brought on from him being the last loyal Uchiha. He was no Itachi and Kakashi knew it. Lesson 1 Tai Kakashi was cut off once again. Seriously, wouldn't these kids let him finish a damn sentence? My turn! Naruto cheered and made a hand sign. Suddenly the clearing was a mass of orange clones, Kakashi deduced. Then one threw a kunai that Kakashi swiftly dodged before jumping over a surprise low slice from Sasuke's sword. Shadow clones, he amended as they charged him along with Sasuke. As I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Kakashi started again, sidestepping Sasuke's blade, allowing a group of clones to crash into each other, and grabbing the 12-year-old by the upper arm. Lesson 1 Taijutsu. He then nimbly flipped Sasuke into a bunch of clones, causing them to poof into smoke and for Sasuke to go rolling along the ground. The clones however kept coming and Kakashi darted through them, striking them and causing them to disperse faster than any of them could strike him. It was actually quite amusing. In a matter of seconds every single clone in the clearing had been turned into smoke, leaving an empty clearing. What happened to Sasuke and Naruto? He supposed there had been a lot of smoke. Wait, where was Sakura? Sakura POV. When she had seen her teammates try to take on their new sensei, Sakura had frozen up. Sasuke had his sword and had looked so cool. Naruto, who was certainly less cool, had still managed to provide some irritation to their sensei, and in the smoke of all of the dispersing she had made her escape to hide and try and figure out how to get the bells. Looking back, that was probably Naruto and Sasuke's plan. The other girls who like Sasuke had noticed as the relationship between the demon boy and last Uchiha had grown over the years. Problem was they had no idea how it really started, so they couldn't try to get into his good favors. But the two had some sort of sync and had likely only attacked first to see if they could get a read on the silver-haired man's abilities. When she had run out of clearing she had gone a ways before doubling back and sneaking the last stretch. So here she was hiding under a bush watching her prospective teacher read a porn novel. Don't ask how she knew what that was. She was a good and proper young lady, but Inner and Missy had problems. Her other personalities were a weird subject for her. She knew they were there, but she never actually really talked to them. They occasionally left each other notes, telling each other to do important stuff, but that was the entirety of their relationship. Sakura had gone to various psychologists over the years to try and work out the problems, but none of them had had much headway. Mainly because no one knew how they formed. Most people with the disorder had lived through a traumatic childhood filled with abuse and cruelty, but Sakura didn't have that. Her parents loved her, she had been friends with other girls back before they started fighting over Sasuke. Honestly, the worst she had was when she had been bullied for her forehead. Hey Sakura! Naruto suddenly said to her from where he was crouched beside her. She nearly shrieked in surprise. She hadn't even heard the bush rustle. How did he get here? Was it a demon thing? What do you want? She hissed. Well, the team and I. Hey, no hitting, he is a team. He told her when she tried to whack him over the head. Anyway, the team and I agree that a team is supposed to have 3 genin, therefore we decided it's part of the test. We think it's about teamwork, or something like that. Naruto rolled his eyes. He could at least come out and tell us instead of trying to trick us into doing the exact opposite. Does Sasuke-kun have a plan? She asked, desperate to get her crush's approval. Actually, I have a plan, and Sasuke critiqued it. Always good to have multiple inputs. Naruto told her. How's it work? She asked after a moment. If Sasuke agreed to it, then it must be a good plan. Not here, Kakashi is right there. Naruto said, pointing at the seemingly ignorant perverted sensei. Sakura nodded in agreement, and they slipped away. Kakashi POV. Kakashi had heard every word of course and was feeling a tad ecstatic. Sure, they had picked apart the meaning behind the test, but the question of whether or not they actually could work together had yet to be answered. Understanding is only part of the solution. So being the reasonable Cyclops he was, he decided to sneakily follow after Naruto and Sakura and find out what the plan was. As he leaped through the trees in the forest he noted that there were a number of traps scattered around. Most of them were on the ground fortunately, but he soon saw that a tree branch ahead of him had been partially cut through. If he had landed on it he would have gone crashing. So he leaped to the less obvious branch behind it. However, as soon as he touched down on the branch a series of seals flashed, and he found himself paralyzed and unable to move his limbs. He could still feel them but couldn't get himself to move. He was in a crouched position and after 5 minutes it was beginning to get uncomfortable. Hi there, Sensei. Naruto's voice said happily from the ground. Kakashi shifted his single eye down, and saw his team staring back up at him. Sasuke was smirking, Naruto was grinning and Sakura looked a bit lost but still overall happy. MMPH he managed to get out. Oh, it's just a bunch of paralysis seals. They'll wear off in a bit. Kinda like Sasuke's freaky suicide murder seal. Naruto explained. Hey! Sasuke glared at him. That is the holy sacrificial seal of Jashin-sama, and you will respect it. Yeah, well, I'm an immortal demon, what does Jashin have on me? Naruto shot back. The two began bickering about whether demons or gods were better. GMMF. Kakashi tried to say. What's that, Kakashi-sensei? You agree with me? See, Sasuke, even Sensei agrees. Naruto incorrectly translated. What are you saying, Dobe? Of course he's agreeing with me that even demons like you should still respect the gods. Sasuke made his own wrong attempt. Kakashi groaned in acceptance. Oh right, hey Sakura, since it was my seals that trapped Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke's idea to lure him into it, if you get the bells and give it to us, that means we each got the bells and worked as a team to pass. Naruto explained happily. After Sakura managed to shimmy up the tree, she quickly nabbed the bells off of Kakashi's belt and jumped down. She tossed one to each of her new teammates. Well, this was fun, Naruto said, and Sasuke nodded. Who wants ramen? Damn it, Naruto, is that all you ever eat? Sasuke complained as they started leaving. Sakura trailing along behind. Well, I'm pretty sure I ate people in the past, but I think I'm a bit small for that at this point. Naruto mentioned, sounding thoughtful. Jashin-sama, damn it, Naruto. Sasuke groaned, resting his forehead in his hand. Naruto paused. Oh yeah. Sensei, that should wear off in a few hours. See ya tomorrow. Try to be on time though. His eyes flashed red. Or else. He then smiled cheerily, turned back around and continued on his way, with Sakura keeping a noticeably larger distance between them now. So Kakashi was left unable to move on a branch, wondering where it all went wrong. Probably somewhere after his father died, team died, Sensei and his wife died, and he threw himself into missions to block out the pain, completely ignoring said Sensei's child, allowing him to convince himself he was a demon. Yeah, that would be it. Same POV later. Team 7 pass. Kakashi announced, sounding bored. He decided to ignore the incredulous stares of the rest of the room. He would let them all assume that the bell test had been done right with one of the potential students tied to a stump, and that they had learned the true value of teamwork the hard way. That was his story, and he would stick to it, and there was no way in hell he was going to admit he had been tricked by Genin. He knew he had been getting lazy, but this was unacceptable. He would have to step up his own training and observation skills. That had been a rookie mistake, and he would not repeat it. Kakashi had arrived late as usual, which nobody questioned, but plenty of people grumbled about. Most people assumed he had just been doing his normal thing instead of literally being unable to attend due to being paralyzed. So it was a good thing he was habitually late, or that would have brought up some questions. Questions that he was sure he would find a way around, but that he would rather not deal with. Very well then. Hiruzen said, everyone whose team failed, you may go. Asuma, Kurenai and Kakashi, you stay, I want to hear your report. Okay, then get your story straight, Kakashi thought to himself. You completely embarrassed your 3 genin in taijutsu, genjutsu and ninjutsu. One of those was true at least. It ended with you tying Sakura, yes, Sakura, to a stump. Then her teammates decided to give her lunch, and you passed them. Kakashi internally smirked. No one would ever have to know what really happened. Why don't you go first, Kakashi? I was watching your test on my crystal ball, so I'll be happy to fact check. But I want to hear it from your point of view. The Sandame said seriously, but Kakashi could have sworn that he saw amusement flashing in the man's eyes. Kami, damn it. Naruto POV, Ichiraku ramen. How did you do that with your eyes and voice? Sasuke asked as he swallowed his tomato ramen. I've never seen you do that before. He added, not sure really, just wanted to test a theory. I know I still have my demonic chakra, I just can't use much of it unless I'm dying. Naruto admitted, so I tried to channel some of it consciously for once. Neat trick. He admitted and went back to eating. Sakura had been silent the entire time, obviously trying to figure out how to get involved in the conversation. She perked up when she realized something. Naruto, you said it was your plan, but you told Kakashi-sensei it was Sasuke-kun's idea. Sakura started. It was my plan to trap him in a paralysis seal, and Sasuke's idea to lure him into one rather than me trying to place one on him in a fight. Naruto explained. Oh, Sakura said. At this point Sasuke had finished his meal and was praying to Jashin, while Sakura had eaten all she was going to of her low-fat, low-calorie, all-organic, no preservatives added ramen. Naruto finished up his 5th bowl and sighed contentedly. I'm not sure about you guys, but I think this is gonna be great. I mean, what could go wrong? Naruto grinned. Konoha, General POV. Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves. Such a serene and peaceful place. That is to be expected, of course. It is the most powerful of the 5 great ninja villages, so who would dare challenge it? At this time of year especially. Damn cat, get back here! As I was saying, at this time of year especially the leaves are just beg. Shoot, it jumped over the trap seals, inning to turn the most beautiful shade of green. Look out for that tree. Fuck it, I was trying to set the scene, but hey. Whatever. Who cares? I sure fucking don't. Are you guys sticking to the plan? Kakashi asked over the radio, flipping a page. We tried, it didn't work. Sasuke growled as he watched both Iner and Naruto chase after Tora the cat in a mad dash all around a mulberry bush. What about Plan B? Kakashi asked from where he was about 300 yards away, happily reading his book. Plan B needed Naruto's trap seals to still be in place. Sasuke said as watched Iner use Naruto's head as launch board to propel herself towards Tora, who had leaped up onto a tree branch. What happened to the trap seal? Kakashi asked, actually putting down his book in interest. Sasuke glanced down at the chakra-enhanced ropes that currently had him tied up from the neck down to his ankles. No comment. He responded, well, if you're not in the sharing mood. Kakashi sighed as he returned his attention to his novel. He was just getting to the page where the main character stealthily infiltrated the all-girls hospital to visit a pair of twin nurses. He giggled pervertedly. Sensei, are you reading porn? Sasuke asked after a moment. Naruto had pulled himself back up and was chucking paralysis field seals attached to kunai at the cat. Iner had fallen off the branch she was on and landed face first in a bush. Now what would make you think that, Sasuke-chan? Kakashi asked teasingly, turning the page of his book. Do not call me that, especially not when you're reading porn. Why don't you at least try to read some real literature? Sasuke asked as he watched the recovered Iner attempt to use Naruto as a weapon to beat Tora into the ground and failing. Oh, and what might you recommend? Kakashi asked as the main character encountered his long-lost and thought-dead lover in the amnesia ward of the hospital. The Holy Book of Jashin-sama. Sasuke suggested as Iner got caught in one of the paralysis fields and dropped Naruto. If looks could kill, the blonde's head probably would have exploded given the look Iner was giving him. I've never been the religious. Kakashi noted as the main character found himself in a room with his amnesiac lover, the twin nurses, and his sexy arch-rival and potential love interest. Fucking atheist. Sasuke muttered as he watched Naruto finally grab onto the cat and slap a seal onto it that temporarily shut down all higher brain functions. And what's wrong with being an atheist? Kakashi asked as things began to heat up when it turned out the main character's rival was having a lesbian affair with the main character's amnesiac lover. He loved this book so much. Before Sasuke could explain exactly how stupid it was to go through life without the holy blood-colored light of Jashin-sama, Naruto finally announced over the radio. I got it. Well done, Naruto. Kakashi congratulated the blonde, snapping his book closed. It was just getting to the good part, but being the responsible adult he was, he would focus on his genin team. All in a day's work, Sensei. Naruto said, picking up the downed animal. Sasuke, Sakura, why can't you be more like Naruto? Kakashi asked seriously. GRMMPH. Iner growled, still unable to move due to the paralysis. But it probably translated to something like, Siche, I'll fucking murder you and that blonde little shit stain, Cyclopes. I hate you all so much. Sasuke announced before suddenly losing his balance and toppling over face first. Ow, he groaned into the ground due to the fact he couldn't catch himself from falling with his arms tied. At least the grass was reasonably comfortable. No measly cat can match the all-powerful fox demon. Naruto cheered, hoisting the unconscious cat over his head. Naruto, we've been over this. You're not a demon. Kakashi sighed with frustration. In the few months he'd had them as students, he had attempted to rid Naruto of his insane belief that he was the Kyuubi given human form. Unfortunately, and like I've said before, you can stop pretending now, Sensei. I know. Naruto hissed out the last part as though imparting a secret. He stood up and began walking towards Sasuke to untie him, only to end up trapped in one of his own paralysis field seals. This was the scene Kakashi arrived on a few moments later. Sasuke lying face first on the ground while tied up, Iner with both hands poised above her head as though to smash something with a hammer, and Naruto with Tora tucked under his arm with his foot raised as though he were about to take a step. He sighed and shook his head in shame. Yep, just another normal day for Team 7. Naruto's POV, Hokage's office. The members of Team 7, not including Kakashi, glared at the cat they had captured. Currently it was being crushed, a ham cuddled lovingly by its owner. Stupid cat, Naruto thought to himself, it had us running in circles for hours. He conceded that if he was treated like this animal was, though, he would probably run away and do whatever it took to never return. When he had finally graduated and become a ninja, Naruto had been expecting to do awesome ninja stuff, not chores. He did have to admit they were at least a way for him to get done his good deed of the day. It wasn't exactly making up for the thousands of lives he had taken and or ruined during his past life, but hey, it was a start at least. Of course that didn't mean he was just going to sit down and take more of these dumb D-ranks. I've had it with all these stupid missions. Can't we get a real mission for once? He complained, deciding to direct it at Kakashi rather than the Hokage. I don't know, Kakashi said thoughtfully. You're still rather new to this. I think we should do a few more D-ranks just to be sure. Tora took this opportunity to leap out of his owner's arms and flee to freedom once again. No! The three genin cried out simultaneously. None of them wanted to go after that damn cat again. Are you sure? Kakashi asked, sounding concerned. It would be very good practice for real missions. So you admit they are not true missions, Hataki-san? Naruto nearly leapt out of his skin at the unexpected input from Missy. When did Sakura switch? There wasn't anyone injured around right now. Oh, well, you see, Kakashi started trying to defend his statement. Hokage-sama, I formally request a C-rank mission for myself and my team. We have been able to complete every mission assigned to us thus far and therefore are clearly legible for a more difficult and useful task. Missy directed at the Hokage. Naruto paused to wonder where that lab coat kept popping up from. Hiruzen hummed thoughtfully, lightly stroking his small beard. I suppose your argument is fairly valid. As long as your sensei agrees, I see no reason not to assign you a C-ranked mission. He explained and looked to Kakashi for confirmation. Well, I suppose it might be good for them to get some experience outside of the village. Kakashi agreed after considering for a moment. In that case you have quite good timing. For it just so happens I have a mission concerning escorting the Sandame read the mission file and frowned. A super awesome bridge builder back to Super Wave Country so he can finish building his super bridge. I'm sorry to say that I have never heard of Super Wave Country, but will be happy to escort him to Normal Wave Country. Kakashi I smiled. Very well then, send Tazuna in. Hiruzen directed. Naruto wondered just what kind of person they were escorting when he walked in. It was an old man with glasses holding a sake bottle. Lovely. He could smell the alcohol on his breath from here. They were escorting a drunk, what fun. Then again, maybe he'd finally get to try alcohol. He and Sasuke had tried a year ago because of reasons, but had not actually managed to get any. It was a funny story actually. You see, what the heck? I asked for some super ninja to escort me. Tazuna took a gulp of his bottle. Not a bunch of green brats. They look like they couldn't protect a fly, especially the stupid-looking blonde one. Okay, he was paying for that comment. Naruto reached for the small part of his sealed chakra he could access and allowed it to flow through him. When his vision took on a red hue he spoke, "What was that, you pathetic little ant?" He felt an immense satisfaction when the bridge builder froze and dropped his bottle. Next to him Sasuke smirked, and Missy just shook her head. Kakashi just sighed. To be fair, the man probably was concerned about his willingness to reveal himself, but he knew what he was now, so there was no use hiding it from everyone. Tazuna coughed, turning away slightly. What I meant to say was I'm honored that you're willing to take time away from your busy schedule to aid me. You whatever you are. Naruto smiled happily. Great. I can't wait to get going. Watching this, Hiruzen could not help but wonder if he should have corrected Naruto when he had the chance. Oh well. Kakashi POV. The next morning, Konoha's gates. So are you three all set to go? Kakashi asked his three students the next morning, using Shunshin to appear behind them. They jumped and turned to stare at him, and stare at him, and stare some more at him, and continued to stare at him. Is something wrong? He finally asked the trio after 2 whole minutes had passed without any of them blinking. That was not healthy for the eyes after all. Or in his case eye, singular. Maybe they could close one and then the other would dry out and they'd only have one eye too. Wait a second. Was he actually fantasizing about his students losing one eye apiece? Maybe that blood-covered homeless man with the rat puppets was right and he did need therapy. Sensei Sakura started a panicked look on her face. You're actually Naruto continued, his eyes widening in horror. On time. Sasuke finished reaching up to his neck and grasping the prayer beads that hung around it like they were a lifeline. Kakashi toned, putting on a thoughtful look. I guess I am. How lucky the road of life lead me here today, he said with a nice smile. In truth, he had only shown up on time so he could promote a professional attitude to Tazuna to help Konoha's image. Unfortunately, his genin decided to ruin it. It's the end times. Sakura screeched and started to sob into her hands. I'm not ready to die yet. Naruto shouted, clutching his head and running in circles. Oh Jashin-sama, I apologize for failing you so early. I humbly offer my soul to you for judgment. I pray that you take my short time in this world into consideration before judging me. Sasuke muttered as he knelt and prayed. Kakashi's sweat dropped and Tazuna just watched the spectacle dumbfounded. Is there something wrong with them? He asked Kakashi seriously. Kakashi just shook his head shamefully. There are so many things wrong with them. It took about 10 minutes to convince the team that no, the world was not ending, and yes, Kakashi really was on time and was not an imposter. That however led to another rather astronomical conclusion. He must be possessed. Sakura deduced. Of course. Naruto slapped his forehead. Why didn't I think of that? He turned to Kakashi. Do you know who I am? I am the Kyubi no Yuko. Get out of my perverted sensei, lesser demon. He roared and tried to tackle Kakashi. Kakashi just sighed and reached out and grabbed Naruto's head, keeping his wild swings at bay. Like he would allow himself to be possessed by a demon. If anything had possessed him, it would have been a ghost, because he wouldn't have been able to see or hear it coming. But it's not like there are dead teenagers just floating around in an endless green void or anything. In an alternate universe and or dimension, a white-haired, green-eyed teenager sneezed. 1. I can assure you 3, I am most certainly myself and not currently possessed by anything. Demons or otherwise. Kakashi told them. So much for helping Konoha's image. Okay then, now that's sorted out. Are you 3 all packed already? Kakashi asked. Naruto held up a storage scroll, of course. Sakura presented a bag which was filled with dresses, makeup, lab coats, and spare glasses. Did she actually need glasses and only Lucy was willing to wear them or something? Sasuke presented a bag that was filled with some more practical items, as well as some less practical ones such as an extra set of prayer beads, a sacrificial knife and a copy of the Holy Book of Jashin-sama. I'd be willing to let you borrow that. Sasuke added helpfully as Kakashi inspected the book. I'm good, thanks. Kakashi told him, whipping out his own copy of Aika Aika, Paradise. The 3 genin groaned. Oh, is that the new one? Tazuna asked. I'm a few novels behind, he admitted. The genin glared at their client with a distinct lack of respect. After checking in with the gate guards, the group marched off towards Wave. Due to this fact, they missed the following conversation. Hey Kotetsu? Izumo asked. Yeah, Izumo? Kotetsu put down his manga novel. You ever notice how Naruto looks like the Yandame Hokage? Izumo questioned. Kotetsu looked thoughtful. Huh. They both looked towards the Yandame's giant stone face carved into the side of the mountain. Yeah, you're right, he does kinda look like Yandame-sama. Kotetsu agreed after a moment. How weird. Izumo nodded. Yeah, must be a coincidence. Kotetsu nodded and went back to his manga about two best friends who always had guard duty together, but one secretly had a crush on the other. He just felt some sort of connection to it. General POV, on the road to Wave. Ugh, it's so hot. Sakura complained as they trudged along the road. Yeah, it's been days since there's been any rain. Sasuke agreed. Sakura's eyes lit up with hearts in them due to the fact that her Sasuke-kun was agreeing with her, even though this is biologically impossible. Also rather cliché. Just accept it and keep reading. Huh, then it's a good thing I dropped an explosive tag in that random puddle back there. Naruto commented. Wait, what? Boom. Two smoking and wet lumps went flying over their heads and crashed on the road in front of them, twitching. Ah man. Naruto complained, seeing the twitching forms of two ninja. Why are you complaining? Isn't that what you were planning? Sasuke asked, confused. What? Of course not. I just wanted to make a big splash of water to cool us down. Naruto explained his reasoning. I had no idea it was actually. How did they do that? This part was written when the series was new and Kishimoto was still working out how our world worked. Lucy explained, pushing up her glasses nervously. That was weird. Sakura hadn't been reading anything. Fourth wall breaking aside. Kakashi sent a glare at Lucy, who looked down in shame. It's a bit hard to tell, but I'd say these two were the demon brothers, a pair of Chunin level Kirinuknin. Wait, so are they actually demons? Naruto asked curiously. No, people just call them that. Kakashi told him. But they're not real demons. Naruto complained. Neither are you. Kakashi pointed out. Okay, Kakashi-sensei, it used to be funny, but now it's kinda getting annoying. Knock off, the whole Naruto is really a human act. He scolded Kakashi. Kakashi just closed his eye and counted to 3. Whatever the case, I am very curious why there are two Nuke-nin who just happen to be sitting around waiting for us. Now they could have been after me, but I doubt it, considering this mission could have just as easily been assigned to another team. So Tazuna, care to explain why these two are after you? Kakashi asked, a deadly glint in his eye. Wait, what happened? Who are those two? Why is everything clearer? Sakura suddenly asked as she looked around, feeling very confused. She still had Lucy's glasses on too, which explained the last question. Sasuke just sighed. If only these fools had accepted Jashin-sama, then they would be able to live their lives with true clarity, and would hopefully be less insane and more normal, and well-adjusted like himself. Damn atheists. Time skip. After getting the truth about the mission out of Tazuna, that they was a businessman named Gato who had been terrorizing Wave Country, the team decided to continue on. Naruto had checked with Tazuna to find out if this guy was calling himself a demon too. Fortunately for Gato, he was not, so the group continued on and met the rower guy. He rowed the boat gently down the stream. Not so merrily, but you get the idea. Hey guys, what's not white and fluffy, but still probably wants to kill us? Naruto asked suddenly as they walked through a completely natural and normal fog. Is this some sort of weird riddle? Sakura asked. She had left her glasses on after assurances from Sasuke that it did not make her look ugly. And why would anything white and fluffy want to kill us? Knowing Naruto, probably both a warning and a riddle. Also, he has weird fear of rabbits. Sasuke sighed. Oh, we should probably duck, he added, dropping to the ground. Hey, I've told you before, team, it's a completely rational fear. Naruto was suddenly cut off quite literally as a massive blade came spinning through the air and nearly sliced his torso in two. He dropped to the ground in a bloody mess. Kakashi froze as he watched his sensei's son suddenly and unexpectedly kind of die. Damn it! He had failed someone else. If only he had both eyes and depth perception, he might have been able to save him. His resolve hardened. Whoever this bastard was, he was going to make him pay. Damn it, Naruto, not again. Sasuke muttered, and Sakura just stared blankly at the unexpected blood that had sprayed and gotten on her. Well, honestly, I thought it would be harder to kill any of you than that, a voice said. The group turned away from Naruto's body and saw a man with bandages wrapped around his mouth standing on the sword where it was embedded in a nearby tree. Oh well, guess I got my hopes up too high. Shinaro! Inner Sakura suddenly roared and pounded the tree where the sword-wielding ninja had just been standing. What? The bandaged man asked as he watched the tree break in two. That little girl just punched hard enough to splinter a tree. That was concerning. You got blood on me, cha! She screamed at him and came running with death in her eyes. She was unexpectedly dropped to the ground by a whack on the head just before she reached him. Zabuza, demon of the bloody mist. Kakashi growled, staring at the man who had just killed one of his students and knocked out another. He slipped his hand into his kunai pouch and pulled one out. Are you kidding me? A voice Kakashi had not expected to hear again shouted. He whipped around to see Naruto sitting up, still covered in blood, whacking his forehead repeatedly. Kakashi was flooded with both relief and confusion. Relief that his student was alive and confusion at the fact that, well, he was alive. Didn't I just kill him? Zabuza asked, seemingly no one as everyone else's attention was on Naruto. Why is it there are so many fake demons? Naruto complained, pulling himself to his feet. All those demonic illusion techniques for genjutsu, those two people I blew up earlier, even Kakashi-sensei was pretending to be one earlier. He ranted. No, I wasn't, Kakashi said quietly, still rather shocked Naruto was still alive. Listen up. I am the only real demon here. Anyone else who claims to be one is a pretender, Tebeo. Naruto told everyone. What the fuck do you mean you're a real demon? You're just some blonde brat. Zabuza said. Naruto's eyes went red. You dare question the Kyubi no Yuko tiny nukenin? What the foo? Zabuza started but stopped to dodge before Kakashi could fully slice his neck open with a kunai. To tell you the truth, I'm rather out of practice. Kakashi told Zabuza as the nukenin put pressure on the small gash on his windpipe. The leaf ninja had uncovered the Sharingan eye his friend had given him. But the scarecrow wasn't done attacking. Zabuza barely had time to raise his sword before Kakashi could shove a kunai through his heart. But I just watched my sensei's only legacy nearly die before I could fix whatever the hell his messed up childhood did to him. So right now I can tell you, if you don't back off, I will kill you. Kakashi stared him in the eye with both his own eye and Obito's Sharingan. If his tone of voice was anything to go by, he believed every word he said. I'd like to see you try copycat, Kakashi. Zabuza told him, smirking behind his bandages, and shoved the other man away. And I'd like to see people like you stop ripping off real demons like me. Naruto shouted, his eyes still red, as he hurled a barrage of kunai trailing various types of seals at the demon of the bloody mist. Like a weak little newbie genin, like you could oh shit. Zabuza said as he saw the explosive tag on one of the kunai flash. Zabuza, however, was not a A-rank nukenin and a swordsman of the hidden mist for nothing. He had simply used the kawarimi to switch with the nearest thing, which just so happened to be Kakashi. Kakashi, however, was not an A-ranked former ANBU captain for nothing. He used the kawarimi to switch with a nearby log. Praise the log, okay, neat trick, brat. Zabuza admitted, ignoring the shouted correction of demon. Let me show you one of mine. He started making a series of hand seals. Meanwhile, Sasuke was drawing in the dirt, and Tazuna was huddled behind a tree, beginning to regret lying about the mission's difficulty. A moment later, the mist deepened and covered the entire area, effectively blinding everyone. The leaf shinobi looked around and tried to pinpoint the swordsman. Sasuke, Naruto, be careful, he's a master of the silent killing technique. Kakashi warned them. He wasn't quite sure how Naruto had survived, but he wasn't going to complain about it. Sasuke grunted as he finished what he was doing. It was hard to tell in the mist, but it looked like he did it right. Hey Sakura, can you see anything? Naruto called to his unconscious teammate. He had allowed his demonic chakra to fade away. Zabuza knocked her out while you were unconscious. Sasuke told him as he unsheathed his sword. Darn, we could use Missy or Ina right now. Naruto pouted. MMMPH. A grunt suddenly came from where Tazuna was hiding. Except it wasn't Tazuna grunting. Sweet, it worked. Naruto cheered as the mist slowly began to dissipate, making it easier to see. This was most unfortunate for the bridge builder, who nearly pissed himself when he saw a motionless Zabuza trembling with his sword poised to take the super bridge builder's head off. Naruto, what? Kakashi managed to say, feeling a bit out of the loop. Oh, after the whole thing with the Puddle Brothers, I slipped a seal I'd been working onto Tazuna. Instead of paralyzing the person who has it on, it paralyzes anyone with a high enough amount of adrenaline at the moment. Naruto explained, causing Sasuke and Kakashi to blink at him blankly. What? He said indignantly. I can be smart sometimes. Can I still sacrifice him to Jashin-sama? Sasuke asked hopefully. It had been far too long since he had been able to offer a human sacrifice to Jashin-sama. Well, I don't see why not. Naruto told him with a shrug. A bunch of Saban needles suddenly stuck out of Zabuza's neck, causing him to drop like a rock. This is due to the fact the paralysis seals only work if the target is still alive. Apparently death-like states also count. Okay, now I see why not. Naruto conceded. Thank you for disabling him like that. A voice that's gender could not be assumed said as a masked figure appeared. I have been hunting Zabuza for some time now, and you made his death much simpler for me. Damn it, you ruined my sacrifice. Sasuke shouted at the masked nin, causing them to sweat drop. My apologies, but I needed to kill him. The hunter nin said as they jumped down and lifted Zabuza's body. I thank you for your aid in that endeavor. I would have done it. You couldn't have waited a minute? Sasuke complained. Kakashi, however, after recovering his Sharingan, had noticed something. Why did you use Saban needles to kill him? And why are you taking his body? Kakashi eye widened as he came to a realization, and he tensed up. He felt a series of sharp pin pricks in the back of his neck. Then the world went dark and he collapsed. What? You? Naruto and Sasuke turned just in time to see the hunter nin shun Shin away. They were now alone in the clearing with a drunk old man, an unconscious teammate, and an unconscious sensei. Sasuke turned to Naruto. Do you think I could get away with sacrificing the old man instead? Naruto stared at him for a moment, then sighed and face palmed. No, Sasuke, no, you can't. Damn it. Tazuna sat staring for a minute before pulling his sake bottle out and downing the whole thing. He was way too old for this crap. General POV, Wave Country. Why are we carrying them? Sasuke questioned as he and Naruto dragged the unconscious forms Sakura and Kakashi respectively, along behind them. We couldn't just leave them there. Naruto pointed out to him. After the whole mess with Zabuza, they had agreed to continue on to Tazuna's house. Unfortunately, Kakashi and Sakura were still knocked out, so. Hey old guy, why aren't you helping us? Naruto asked Tazuna, who was quietly walking alongside them. Hey, I'm just trying to get home. Tazuna put up his hands defensively. Yes, and we are trying to get you home, despite the fact that you lied about the mission difficulty. And because we were doing that and are continuing to do that, we now have to lug these two useless flesh bags around. Sasuke glared at the bridge builder, borrowing a few phrases from inner at the end of his sentence to greater display his displeasure. In short, this is all your fault. Naruto agreed with him, pausing to readjust the pair of legs he was dragging. Also, my jumpsuit got ruined. Again. Seriously, these things don't grow on trees, you know. Naruto complained, briefly tugging at the tear in his orange outfit and the bloodstains that highlighted it. Maybe you should start wearing red, Sasuke suggested. That way the blood won't show up as much. Also, the whole kill me orange thing is going to get you into a lot more trouble that will cause more blood to spill out. Hey, don't you diss the orange. Naruto yelled at him more than a little defensively. This was not the first conversation they had exchanged concerning Naruto's preferred choice of clothing. Naruto, forget it. I would say it's your funeral, but you've long since proven that death doesn't work on you. Sasuke rolled his eyes dramatically. After some traveling, they finally made it to Tazuna's house, which was actually a nice house. Well, this is way better than I expected, Sasuke admitted upon seeing it. What did you expect? Tazuna asked, sounding somewhat offended. Honestly? A box on the side of the road. Sasuke told him without a hint of guilt at his assumptions. Hey, boxes can be really nice, Naruto said defensively. You lived in one for the month after you got kicked out of the orphanage and before you got your apartment. It didn't have enough time to get trashy. Sasuke deadpanned at him. Shows what you know. I am a master of proper upkeep, Naruto declared, dropping Kakashi's legs and posing heroically, complete with sparkles, and they said that the week-long course at Alexander Louis Armstrong's school of posing was a waste of time and money. Sasuke and Tazuna just stared at him. Tazuna with confusion, where did the sparkles come from, and Sasuke with a mix of incredulousness and annoyance. I've been to your apartment. If that is proper upkeep, then you're the son of the Yondaime, the Jashinist challenged. Humph. Naruto pouted but did not try to defend himself. It wasn't his fault cleaning got so annoying and tedious, nor was it his fault that his kitchen garbage can had seemed to develop some form of sentience in the past 2 years since he last emptied it. Maybe he could put a D-rank mission on it. Tsunami! Tazuna called, banging on the door of the house and bringing Naruto out of his thoughts on garbage removal. I'm back. As it turned out, Tazuna had a daughter who was surprisingly a pleasant-looking young woman, as well as a depressed grandson who was out doing whatever it is that children do in a completely oppressed and submissive society. They set up Kakashi and Sakura in a side room. Hopefully Sakura would be waking up sooner rather than later, as she had just been knocked out. Kakashi, however, had been hit in the neck with a bunch of saban, so it seemed likely he would be more out of it. Eventually they found themselves seated around the table eating a lovely meal that Tsunami had cooked up. So Tsunami trailed off. Why don't you boys tell us about yourselves? She missed Tazuna making stop motions with his hands. I am Uchiha Sasuke and a devout follower of Jashin-sama. I don't like much. I loathe a certain man and plan to sacrifice him to Jashin-sama, Sasuke told her before taking another bite of his meal. He means his brother, Naruto helpfully clarified at Tsunami's startled look. That Tsunami started sounding unsure on how to respond to such a display of sibling rivalry. He forfeited any relation to me the day he slaughtered our clan. Sasuke glared angrily at seemingly nothing, likely picturing that man's face. Also, very likely vividly imagining shoving many sharp objects through it. What a lovely sibling bond those two have. Okay then, how about you? She directed at Naruto, who was more than happy to tell her about himself. But just as he opened his mouth, a shouting from the other room got their attention. Where the hell am I, Cha? A rather loud voice screeched from the room they had placed their teammate and Sensei in. Oh boy, Inner's awake. Sasuke groaned, whacking his forehead on the table. What did you expect? Lucy? Naruto asked with a sigh. He really did think Sakura was pretty, but the only personality of hers that acted nice to him was Lucy, and she was almost as shy as that weird girl at the back of class who got red and fainted whenever he got near her. He still wondered what that was about. Naruto might have thought the Hyuga girl had a crush on him, but there was no way anyone could have a crush on him of all people. Huh? Tsunami just looked confused. She's complicated, Sasuke revealed, sounding and appearing rather annoyed. She has multiple personality disorder. Naruto translated, then paused. We think. She hasn't actually told us, but it sure seems like it. How interesting. Tsunami trailed off once again, beginning to question just what her father had gotten them into. Well, someone has to go and deal with her, Naruto pointed out. 1 2 3 nodded. He quickly counted off before Sasuke could say anything. 1TW damn it dobe. Sasuke cursed and stood up out of his seat to go and try and explain things to Inner and hopefully get her to calm down and into one of her less homicidal personalities. Sasuke-kun! Inner cheered as soon as Sasuke stepped through the doorway. The Uchiha barely contained a groan. He'd take regular Sakura any day rather than deal with this one. At least the normal one would not act so creepy. Of course either way she was still a fangirl. As for Missy, well, he did not feel like being bossed around by that girl. A part of his mind briefly wondered exactly why he listened to her, but he did not dwell on it. Yes, hello? Turn back to Sakura or even better Lucy. Sasuke suggested evenly, but why would I do that when I could be here with you? Inner pushed herself up, wincing slightly, and attempted to latch on to Sasuke. Because I got you a new book. Sasuke lied easily. The result was instantaneous, thankfully. Really? Lucy gushed, looking around frantically. Where? What's it about? Who wrote it? How many pages? Chapters? Protagonists? What about? Perhaps Sasuke should have come up with a different method to get her to switch. Or brought an actual book with him. Yeah, that probably would have been a good idea in this situation. Wait just a second. He had the perfect book. And what about the plot? Wait, no. I don't want to know about the plot. In fact, forget about telling me all the other stuff too. It takes away from the experience. Lucy ranted, now sounding frantic and panicky. It's in my bag. Sasuke pointed to where his bag sat in the corner, along with Kakashi and Sakura's. Naruto had insisted on bringing the extra bags with them for some reason. Something about doing good deeds. Honestly, for an actual demon, Naruto made people like that Zabuza fellow look like saints. Actually, maybe Zabuza could be considered a saint by the laws of Jashin-sama. He should investigate that when he has time. Come to think of it, there were a lot of shinobi who could be considered saints under Jashin-sama's word. Perhaps there were others out there who would be willing to convert to Jashinism? By the time Sasuke came out of his thoughts, Lucy was inspecting the copy of the holy book of Jashin he brought with him. Well, one of the copies. He always had one on his person, but he decided to bring a spare just in case something happened to his pocket-sized version. I'm not sure this is the kind of thing I would like. Lucy admitted, having now realized exactly what book she was holding. Nonsense, you'll love it. I know I sure did. Sasuke told her truthfully. Really? Did it change your perspective of the world around you? Lucy inquired, light briefly reflecting off of her glasses. Changed my life. Sasuke said honestly. Like the orb. That had been both freaky and life-changing. Then Naruto had eaten it, and everything was back to normal. He sincerely needed more friends. Lucy looked doubtfully back at the book. What's up with the bindings? It feels kind of weird. Oh, that's just human flesh. You know the stuff you're covered in. Only old and dried out. Sasuke said nonchalantly, not seeing the problem. Lucy proceeded to faint. Fortunately, she landed on one of the mats on the ground so she didn't crash her head into the hardwood floor. Naruto picked now to check in after he was certain no one, especially himself, was going to be getting punched through walls. Damn it, Sasuke. What did you do? I'm not quite sure. The Uchiha admitted. All I did was tell her the holy book of Jashin-sama was wrapped in human flesh. Naruto just stared at him. Damn it, you bastard, he finally muttered, shaking his head. Some time later, Kakashi POV. Kakashi groaned as he returned to consciousness and blinked his blurry eye at the unfamiliar ceiling. He actually felt horrible, and not in the normal way he felt horrible. This was physical. Where was he anyway? This wasn't his apartment, or the hospital, or a random campsite. Nonetheless, he was glad to be awake. He had just been having a horrible dream that he had taken a genin team consisting of his sensei's son who thought he was a demon, Itachi's little brother who was a cultist, and some pink-haired civilian with worse mental problems than he had. Thank Kami and the log that it was over. Oh, Sensei! You're awake! A young feminine voice called. Oh, sweet Kami, no. It wasn't a dream, was it? Why couldn't it have been a dream? Kakashi squinted his good eye in an effort to make sense of the blurry shapes around him. Sakura, at least he thought it was Sakura right now, was kneeling over him with a damp washcloth. I'll go tell Naruto and Sasuke-kun. Sakura told him and gently set the washcloth on his forehead before getting up and walking out of the room. He listened to her feet pad down the wooden hall. Kakashi sighed and tried to make himself sit up. He managed to start sitting up before he was hit with a wave of nausea and pain. He allowed himself to fall flat again and attempted to remember how he had arrived at this situation. Vaguely he recalled fighting Zabuza, demon of the hidden mists. Naruto had done something to him involving a paralysis seal or something. Then he had been knocked out by Saban needles via a hunter nin from Kiri, but why would he try taking the body? Oh, yeah, right, damn it, now he remembered. He had called out the hunter nin and was then knocked out from something behind him, presumably either a second accomplice of Zabuza or perhaps some form of clone. Either way, the Saban had been used to knock him out in a similar manner to Zabuza, and now he was here, likely at Tazuna's house now that he thought about it. So what to do now? He wasn't exactly in any shape to take the team back to Konoha. Speaking of which, what exactly was wrong with him anyway? He wasn't sure whether the Saban needles had been poisoned, or whether they had been used to hit pressure points. If only they had a medic mean with them, although there was always Missy. But did he really want to deal with his female student's most controlling personality? And then again, how much about medicine did she actually know? He had never gotten the opportunity to try and test her, so he had no idea if she knew any medical jutsu. Questions. Hey Sensei, how you feeling? Naruto's voice brought him out of his inner thoughts. I've been better. Also worse in the past. Like that time he lost his eye. That had been very traumatic as well as both physically and mentally scarring. This was made worse by the fact Obito had died less than 6 hours later and granted him his Sharingan. Of course, while that had been very traumatic, he had at least been able to, move. Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura were gathered around looking down at him. In background he also noticed Tazuna and a lovely young woman. He wondered what she was doing there. He would have guessed she was Tazuna's daughter or something, but he found it quite hard to believe that a man like Tazuna could produce a lovely lady such as that. And now he was thinking about how nice a client looked. He really was out of it. Mission first, naughty thoughts later. That's what Ika was for, of course. Did either of you happen to stop that hunter Nin? Or perhaps get some information from them? Kakashi questioned his team. Not really. Naruto admitted sheepishly while Sasuke whistled innocently. You know, I'm not surprised. Can you at least tell me what happened after I was knocked out? Kakashi sighed with disappointment. Sasuke took up the slack here and explained the series of events, occasionally pausing to curse Naruto for interrupting by trying to provide a more accurate representation of what exactly happened. Kakashi had to agree with Naruto in a few places, as he personally found it highly unlikely that Jashin had laid a curse upon the fake hunter Nin for disrespecting the power of human sacrifice. So you didn't see anyone else? Kakashi asked when Sasuke was finished with the explanation. No. Aside from the sacrifice to be and the hunter Nin that stole him, we didn't see anyone else in the area. Sasuke concluded tartly, clearly feeling rather pissed about the fact Zabuza got away before he could sacrifice him. Kakashi still was not sure whether he should try and keep Sasuke from making sacrifices or not. Then again, the Hokage hadn't given him any orders regarding the subject, so it was probably fine. Well then, this is just wonderful. Kakashi noted with a large portion of sarcasm mixed in. Zabuza is gone and likely enough still alive, because that hunter Nin certainly did not behave like a real one. And there's a possible third member of the group who knocked me out. Kakashi let that sink in. Sakura's face was quickly filled with concern and more than a little fear. Tazuna's face had a lot of fear, and his unnamed as of now daughter had a similar expression to Sakura. Naruto looked eager more than anything else, probably still wanted to take on the fake demon as it were. Sasuke, however, looked rather thoughtful. Perhaps he was thinking logically about the situation? Does that mean I can still sacrifice him to Jashin-sama? Sasuke finally asked. You know what? That was it. No more positive thoughts or hopes or dreams while he had to deal with these little monsters. From this point on he would look at every situation with as much doubt and negativity as he could manage, which honestly probably wouldn't be that hard considering the only things that made him feel any semblance of joy were Ika and remembering the few good times he had lived through. And while Kakashi would never admit it, he did rather enjoy his competitions with a certain Might guy. Well? Sasuke prompted as Kakashi had failed to answer his completely reasonable and normal question. It is a bit abnormal, but our mission is to protect the bridge builder, so I suppose sacrificing those who bear him ill will is as good a way as any to deal with the problem, Kakashi deduced. Nonetheless, Zabuza will undoubtedly be more prepared the next time we encounter him, so I'll probably have to give you guys some training. He made sure to sigh very dramatically at this final statement. Wait, you're actually going to train us? Naruto asked hopefully, and Sasuke had a similarly eager look in his eye. Sakura said nothing and actually didn't seem to be paying attention at all. She had this strange faraway look in her eye. How strange. Of course I am. Kakashi agreed, eye smiling at them. What kind of sensei would I be if I didn't teach my adorable little students anything? The boys admittedly looked a little put off at being called adorable, but before they could voice their discontent at his labeling skills, Sakura perked up again. Except it wasn't really Sakura. Sort of. I forbid it. A commanding voice started talking. What you need is Kami who's talking. Her voice suddenly rose several octaves, causing her teammates and the clients to stare at her strangely. Oh, shut up, will ya? Or I'll pound ya, Shinaro. Her voice changed tones again, and Kakashi was getting a rather worrisome idea of what exactly was happening. Not that he'd ever heard of something like this happening to multiple personality disorder patients before, that is. To be fair, he did not exactly go looking for information on those with the disorder. Perhaps he should, considering one of his students had it. I'd rather not pound anyone, actually. Sorry. Sakura's voice got a lot quieter and started stuttering. Naruto and Sasuke shared a look before giving their teammate a good hard stare. Well, no, what cares what you think? Well, why shouldn't we care? Would you all kindly stop arguing? The first voice cut in, before things could progress any further than they already had, which was much too far in Kakashi's opinion. Sasuke whacked her over the head with the pommel of his sword. Everyone else in the room glared at him. What? He sniffed. I didn't want to listen to her devolve in a complete lunatic. He turned away and refused to look at anyone. Naruto looked mixed between concern and anger. Tazuna and his daughter just looked completely lost about the entire situation. Well, that's 2 students I need to get to psychiatrists. Kakashi thought to himself. At least Naruto seems to be stable, apart from the whole thinking he's a demon thing anyway. But that doesn't affect his work ethic much. He paused to entertain the idea though. Then again, maybe I should take him to one too. He in no way felt that he was being hypocritical. It wasn't like a number of people had tried to convince him to take similar measures after his father's death, then Obito's death. After that Rin's death. And then his sensei's and his sensei's wife's deaths. Albeit it was different people bringing the topic up to him by the time the last two kicked the bucket. At least Guy was convinced the only mental help he needed was a daily dosage of the flames of youth TM, which he was convinced was some form of steroid at this point. In that case, I hope she wakes up soon, and in better control of her mental functions, because I am going to teach you. Kakashi paused for dramatic effect, and Naruto and Sasuke leaned in close with matching eager looks on their faces. He was going to enjoy this far more than he should have. How to climb trees, Sakura's POV. In most people's case, the mind was simply a part of themselves. Most people did not consider the oddness of their own existence until faced with their expiration. Fewer still actively attempt to unravel the mysteries of their own being. Of those few, fewer still actually come close to reaching any concrete conclusions, and of those it is doubtful that any of them can be proven as fact. In many tales, the mind can be viewed as a physical plane. A place where one can view memories and see a landscape representations of individuals' personality. Perhaps this landscape is based on true places and based on one's own experiences. This place may be known as the mindscape perhaps. While it is doubtful such a place truly exists, though don't quote the author on that, for he is not a monk nor an expert in any way of the mind. For the sake of our story we shall imagine such a place for the sake of young Haruno Sakura. Also her other personalities. Let's see how they react to each other in this strange mental plane, shall we? This is the strangest experience of my life. Sakura muttered, casting sidelong glances at her other selves. Sakura, inner Sakura, Lucy and Missy found themselves sitting around a table in what appeared to be the Haruno family dining room. It was accurate down to last scratch in the paint save for one detail, the exits to the room. Rather than there being two openings, one to the kitchen and one to the hallway. There were 4 doors, one on each wall. Each one had a different name over it. Sakura, inner, Lucy, Missy. Not necessarily in that order, but that was not the point. So the pink-haired girl in the lab coat who Sakura assumed was Missy started. How did this happen? Heck if I know, cha. The version with the words inner Sakura tattooed on her forehead muttered darkly. If you don't have anything useful to say, don't say anything at all. Missy glared back at her. And who's gonna stop me? You, Miss Pharmacist? Inner shot back, standing up and leaning over that table to leer at her. It's a lab coat. I am a doctor, Missy said angrily, her eyes flashing dangerously. Sakura just sat there staring at the pair. Technically they were also herself, but she honestly could not imagine herself acting like this. Although technically this place could be described as her imagination, as she was imagining her dining room in this way. Or at least that's what she thought might be happening. It's not like she was an expert on this kind of thing or anything. Please don't fight. A quiet voice cut in with a pleading tone. Sakura glanced at the version of herself who was more than likely responsible for the majority of her good grades. Why should I listen to you, cha? Inner glared at Lucy, who eeped and looked down nervously. Maybe because she's actually being the voice of reason in this situation. Sakura muttered to herself, ha upon it. Missy sighed and nodded in agreement with her suggestion, before sitting back down. Inner looked like she wanted to argue but finally relented and joined the others in sitting around the table. So now what? Sakura asked. Well, we can't all try and be in charge at the same time. It didn't exactly work out well, Missy said thoughtfully. I think I should be in charge, Inner announced, sitting up straighter and looking around, daring anyone to argue. No, Missy and Sakura said almost simultaneously. Lucy looked like she agreed with them but didn't say anything one way or the other. Why not? Inner asked. It's a dangerous world out there. And I'm the only one of us with the backbone to face it head on. Yes. Missy nodded in agreement. And in doing so you'll keep making us enemies until we inevitably piss someone off who we can't survive against. Inner muttered something under her breath that Sakura couldn't make out. Nor was she sure she wanted to know what was muttered. How could the other versions of herself be so rude and improper? Didn't they have anyone to teach them manners? Oh, right. Never mind. We could set up a timetable? Lucy suggested meekly, and then flinched when everyone looked at her. Sorry. She apologized. No, don't apologize, that was actually a pretty good idea, Missy told her, looking thoughtful. We can work out a plan on when we each get to be in charge of the body. We can switch out if there's an emergency though. So do we do it every few hours? Sakura started allowing herself to trail off as she didn't want to come off as too brash. Then again, given the way Missy and Inner acted, it probably wouldn't matter too much. That might be too short a time, Missy noted, a look of concentration on her face as she likely tried to visualize potential schedules. Maybe we should do it daily? 7 days in a week, that means one of us gets the short stick, Inner pointed out and glared at the others, obviously not liking the idea of herself being the one to get cut short. How about we look at the bigger picture? Missy suggested. Like how many days each of us get out of a month rather than out of a week. That way one day won't make too much of a difference, and the same person won't miss a day 2 months in a row. That's a good idea. Sakura agreed with herself after thinking about it for a minute. I thought so. We'll work out the details, Missy said before looking at Lucy. Lucy, honey, I need you to wake up. Why does she get to have the body? Inner shouted angrily, raising a fist in threatening manner. Because she's less likely to cause problems with our teammates, or Sensei, that's why. Missy snapped at the other girl. It was quite obvious either of them liked each other. Hopefully that wouldn't cause too many problems in the future. When Sakura glanced at Lucy to see her reaction and try and gauge her thoughts on the matter, she was already gone. Sasuke POV, the next day. Hello sir, have you heard the good news? Jashin-sama is, slam. That reaction was becoming more and more common, Sasuke noted to himself. He had only managed to give out half a dozen pamphlets, and he had been at this for hours. After that horrible experience with learning to use chakra to climb trees without their hands, Kakashi had left him and Naruto to practice. It didn't go too well. The dobe had managed to blow up a tree because he used his demonic chakra to try climbing, and he had only managed to get a few feet. Lucy had gotten it immediately after Kakashi had explained it to her when she woke up, which Sasuke refused to feel guilty about. He was not dealing with another psychopath killing everyone off before he could sacrifice them to a good and noble cause. Thank you very much. Sasuke had given himself the day off as Kakashi was still bedridden and he had made little progress in the tree climbing exercise. He needed some time to think about how to go about succeeding, as well as thinking about what their sensei had told himself and his demonic friend. You two may think you're untouchable and unstoppable, but you won't be able to catch all your enemies off guard. I won't lie, you two do have a lot of potential, but you need to focus it. Naruto, your seals won't always win the day, and Sasuke, as much as you might like to think so, you can't just pray or sacrifice all your problems away. As much as Sasuke hated to admit it, the potential Sharingan thief was right. Naruto had agreed almost immediately. After the first day of falling off and blowing up trees, the two had decided to take a break from practice and try again tomorrow. For today Naruto was off in the woods practicing his few other skills which were in desperate need of practice, while Sasuke was trying to bring some light to this pathetic and desperate village. Specifically the blood-red light of Jashin-sama. Some villagers had been more open to it than others and happily accepted the pamphlet. Usually it was the ones on the streets without a home left because they couldn't afford it who took the pamphlet and read it eagerly. More than likely it was these people who truly needed it. Besides, they could just sacrifice the people with houses and take their houses. That way everybody wins. Never did it occur to him that teaching the local townsfolk about the god of death and suffering might constitute as a bad thing. It did occur to him, however, that he was being followed. So after he had the door slammed into his face yet again, he turned the corner and waited for whoever was tailing him to come around the bend so he could confront them and, if necessary, sacrifice them. When the kid with the funny hat came around the corner, who he vaguely recalled as Tazuna's grandson, he shot out of the shadowed overhang he was standing under and slammed the brat against the wall. "Wanna explain why you're following me around?" he questioned menacingly. That time he and Naruto got into TI because of reasons was quite useful in the long run. Why? Inari, he remembered the whiny brat's name. Why are you even trying? Trying to do what? Sasuke asked confused. Help people. Inari waved his arms despite the fact he pressed against the wall. It's all pointless. Gato will just kill anyone who fights back. Who said anything about fighting? Sasuke said, raising an eyebrow. I'm just trying to help Jashin-sama gain a larger following. Who? Inari asked blankly. Sasuke said nothing for a moment as he considered. He had been where this kid was once. Depressed and mopey, seeing no point in life and just stumbling along from one day to the next. That man may have told Sasuke to hate him, but it had been so hard even after everything he did. Mentally he still sometimes saw Itachi and that man as two different people. Loving brother and psychopath. Then he had discovered Jashin-sama and had found hope. He saw himself in this kid and he would mold this child into a devout follower of God. He chuckled aloud. Then the chuckling got louder until it was laugh. Then it became a cackle. A look of terror spread across Inari's face as he stared helplessly at the older boy. My young depressed friend, Sasuke said after calming down. Let me tell you all about the wonderful existence of Jashin-sama. Inari just whimpered. Naruto POV. Later that night, Naruto groaned and blinked in the darkening light. He must have passed out after training so hard. He had made a bunch of shadow clones and had been one-manning the entire group. Like a max-level Frost DK through a low-level raid. In an alternate universe a WoW character sneezed one, he vaguely recalled killing himself. That was strange, he was sure that he had won the fight. Then he realized he remembered killing himself multiple times. How come all the memories seemed to overlap each other? Wait a second, does that mean that he got memories from his shadow clones? He wondered, a sense of elation coming over him. Oh, he was going to misuse the fuck out. Oh, hello there. Gah! He gasped and waved his arms around, turning and wondering where he was about to be attacked from taking a few deep breaths. After a moment he managed to identify the source of the voice, which turned out to be a long-haired individual who looked like a girl. In fact, a very pretty girl. She had long dark hair and lovely eyes and was wearing a rather nice kimono, but he had been learning how to identify people by smell. But this girl didn't smell like a girl. But he also didn't smell like a boy either. Hi. He managed after staring for a moment. Sorry for startling you, the maybe girl told him. But you were laying in the middle of the woods all alone and I came across you while looking for herbs. I was wondering if I should wake you up or not when you started to stir. Oh, okay, Naruto said, slowly allowing himself to calm down but keeping his guard up. He remembered what Hokage said about strange people he met in the woods, and someone whose gender he couldn't identify certainly qualified as strange. Then again, it might not be the kind of strange he had meant. Are you a ninja? The person asked him. That's what your headband means, right? Yeah, I'm a ninja. Naruto agreed and sat up, taking a proper look around the clearing he was in. Judging by the sun's position in the sky, it was getting pretty late. I'm Haku, by the way, the person of undetermined gender mentioned as they went back to looking through the plants for whatever herbs it was they needed. Naruto. He introduced himself and stood up and looked over Haku's shoulder at what they were doing. What kind of herbs are you looking for? Medical. Someone precious to me is ill, and with how expensive medical supplies around here is, I decided herbal remedies might be more effective, Haku explained as they sorted through the bushes. Do you have anyone precious to you, ninja-san? Naruto thought about it. Did he have anyone precious to him? Most people hated him for what he had done when he was in his fox form, but he couldn't even remember that anymore. But he did have some people. There was Sasuke, even if he was a jerk. There was also Hokage and Iruka Sensei, and maybe Sakura and Kakashi Sensei. He wasn't quite sure about those two yet. Yes, I do, he finally decided. I believe that the only way to truly become strong is to fight for those precious to you, Haku mentioned as she picked a few leaves off a plant and placed them in their basket. Is that why you fight? No, Naruto said decisively. Don't get me wrong, I would fight to protect them with my life if I had to, but they're the reason I fight. Then why do you fight? Haku asked, sounding curious. What is it that drives you to become strong? To make up for my past, Naruto said, idly wondering when this had become a philosophical discussion. This is my second chance at life, and I did things I regret during my first run. This time I have to make up for it all. Oh, Haku said, sounding confused but somewhat understanding. So because of your past misdeeds you fight to redeem yourself? That's right, Naruto agreed. Then what will you do when you do finally redeem yourself? Haku asked him. Naruto's brow furrowed in thought. Huh, he muttered. I never thought about it before. I guess I'll find out when I get there. Then I wish you luck, ninja-san, Haku told him. He stood up and prepared to depart. I told you my name is Naruto, he repeated himself. Realizing this was his last chance to ask, he blurted out. Are you a boy or are you a girl? What? Haku asked, sounding confused. Well, you look like a girl, but you don't smell like a girl, but you don't smell quite like a boy either, he explained. Did you just not assume my gender? Haku questioned, sounding amused. I guess, Naruto admitted. I'll let you make your own guesses on the matter. You might find that sometimes first assumptions on someone are not what you thought, Haku told him with a smile before turning and leaving the clearing, leaving a bemused Naruto behind. Hours later he would be found by Sasuke. Sasuke, you are a boy, right? He asked his friend. The fuck, Naruto? Kakashi POV, Wave Country, as the point in time that Kakashi predicted Zabuza, and by extension himself, would be back at fighting strength approached. She took the time to take account of the resources both sides had available. Zabuza had his fake hunter Nin, and potentially a second ally. Kakashi still was not certain as to whether or not it had been a clone used against him in their first encounter, but he had best planned for the worst-case scenario. Worst-case scenario being that Zabuza had multiple allies as well as anyone Gato could pay off on a short notice. Also, when they started fighting, IWA would show up and start attacking, and then Orochimaru showed up, and then aliens abduct all of them, and then... Okay, maybe that was a tad bit too much of a worst-case scenario, but the general idea was still there that it could be pretty bad. Nonetheless, Kakashi was slowly recovering from whatever poison or paralyzing agents had been on the Senbon that hit him. He was still not near 100%, but at least he could move around well enough. That did leave concerns for how capable he would be when they faced Zabuza again, which they more than likely would eventually. And he was only able to move about for a few days at a time before Missy took back over Sakura and forced him to get more bed rest. The girl's new timetable was weird. Seriously, who talks to one's alternate personalities in their head and then tries to work out a schedule so that everyone gets to use the body? They could have at least left the violent one out of it. True, that personality was the most useful in a fight, but she was also the most lacking in the social interactions department. Kakashi doubted he had much say in the matter of what personality came out when. The last time she had been out, Inner had asked Sasuke for his opinion. He had responded with which ones were the most likely to worship Jashin-sama. Inner's response, however, had been concerning. I'll worship you with my body and soul, she had said dreamily with hearts in her eyes. How the heck did she do that? It was literally a scientific impossibility. Sasuke had stared at her for a moment. His face was a blank and emotionless mask as he considered her statement. After a long, drawn-out moment he had turned to the poor Inari who had been tugging at the leash Sasuke had attached to him so he could not escape during the education process. Disciple, this presents a wonderful teaching moment. A slightly manic grin had begun to creep onto his features. Allow me to show you how we of the devoted and holy deal with blaspheming heathens such as this wretch. Please don't. Inari had whimpered in protest. His protests would unfortunately be ignored. Fortunately, Naruto had intervened before Sasuke could actually manage to kill Iner. For some reason she had seemed almost eager to have Sasuke sacrifice her. Kakashi did not even want to think about the fact that this was the natural reaction of a 12-year-old girl. Albeit one who was almost certainly insane. When they got back to the village, Kakashi was definitely going to get her psyche evaluated. All of her personality's psyches evaluated. Perhaps he could convince Inoichi to do it himself. Actually, that probably wouldn't be all that hard. The man seemed to enjoy trying to solve the more difficult cases. There could be numerous benefits if they managed to cure Sakura and have her personalities intermingle properly as one whole rather than separate entities. It would certainly be beneficial for a shinobi. But before he could properly consider what to do once they got home, he had to figure out how he was going to get all of them home alive. Fighting Zabuza on the man's own terms were a far fly from a simple and easy route. Worst case or best case scenarios, it was never a good idea to underestimate one of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Especially not on a bridge surrounded by water, as bridges commonly were. Nonetheless, that was the way things were going. Kakashi had tried to figure out what drove Tazuna to work so fervently on the bridge with such determination. The man appeared to be convinced that completing the bridge would free his country. He could respect that dream. The problem was Kakashi had trouble understanding just how the bridge would make wave free again. He meant the man no slight. It must be taxing in many ways to build a bridge, especially considering the mental and emotional stress all those working on the bridge had to be under, considering Gato's goons were more than willing to threaten the workers' families in order to intimidate them. Kakashi was actually surprised nothing had happened to Tsunami and Inari while Tazuna was in Konoha. Speaking of which, how the heck Tazuna managed to get to Konoha in the first place? Surely Gato hadn't just let him leave the country? Who could be that stupid as to let a target slip away with barely any effort put into stopping them? In an alternate universe, a shirtless man bleeding on the ground sneezed as he told his best friend to not kill the man largely responsible for the deaths of most of his friends. But that was a bit off topic. The problem was that there was no guarantee that the bridge would accomplish anything. Sure, it could and likely would give the people new hope after being under the shipping magnate's thumb for so long, but hope could be crushed. They still had no way of properly fighting Gato's men, assuming they would be heavily armed brutes. What was to stop them from taking over the bridge once it was finished? Then Gato had another shipping route overland now. That could be beneficial for moving goods into the country for transport overseas. Kakashi had considered telling this to Tazuna, but then how long would he and his cute insane little students have to worry about protecting the old drunk? It was true that they had agreed to defend him until the bridge was finished, and as much as he may want to, Kakashi could not rely on the idea that Gato would just drop dead of a heart attack, as useful and beneficial for everyone as that may be. Maybe he could arrange a death via natural causes. After all, it is very natural to die after having a kunai shoved through one's heart. Very natural indeed, for now though he was probably better off just teaching his students so they wouldn't be completely defenseless. Teaching them how to climb trees to improve their chakra control was one thing, but it wouldn't save their lives in a fight. He was torn between leaving them to teach themselves and learn from their own mistakes like how he learned, or actually teaching them like a good sensei. Maybe he could just give them some pointers. He knew that Naruto was working on his taijutsu for once, but from what he had seen, the boy fought like a brawler, which was all well and good but not the most effective manner at fighting a trained killer like a shinobi, which Naruto was supposed to be. He also wanted to help Sakura and Sasuke, but they were a tad more difficult. Sasuke was too busy trying to convert people into joining his cult, while Sakura just really needed to work on building up her reserves. Also, a bit of physical activity would do her quite a bit of good. Although Sasuke wasn't entirely focused on his cult, he was also trying to do the tree climbing exercise too. Kakashi sighed and sat down cross-legged on his bed mat. All of this was awfully troubling and would without a doubt be a cause for panic in lesser teachers. Even he could feel himself starting to become a tad stressed. Perhaps some light reading would calm his nerves. He giggled slightly as he pulled out his favorite reading material. He did however have to sigh in familiar annoyance that he only had one eye to process the words. At the risk of sounding very much like a Nara, how troublesome. Sasuke POV. So disciple, what have you learned? Sasuke quizzed his potential new cultist. Jashin-sama could not be sated simply by only the sacrifices that he was able to offer. The Great One needed as many as possible to appease him. That you are insane! Disciple cried as he shivered on the floor. He had never really bothered to learn the kid's name, so until further notice he would be called Disciple. Maybe he could give him a new name once he came into Jashin-sama's light properly. For the brat was still in denial, and it was making the whole process difficult. Wrong answer. Sasuke deadpanned. Seriously, what was the problem with this kid? It hadn't been very hard for him to accept Jashin-sama. Maybe he should kill Disciple's family first, and that might give him the necessary push. Actually, never mind, it would be Disciple's duty to do that later on. Once he officially accepted Jashin-sama, that is. Maybe he was going about this the wrong way. Perhaps this would work better if he tried showing Disciple the results of what following Jashin-sama could offer his devoted followers such as himself. Or follower, as it were, because he was the only person he had ever encountered that willingly accepted Jashin-sama with no already proper devoted follower to teach him and train him in the ways of God. There was something for him to look into later on. Maybe once he had risen in ranks within Konoha. Find out if there are any other devout followers of Jashin-sama. Then they could get together for big fancy cult meetings, share some food and drinks, swap tales of worship, sacrifice a few innocent babies, you know, the normal cult stuff. But what if other cultists from other places were not as devoted and holy as himself? What would he do then? If such a thing were the case, then it was clear what Sasuke would have to do to ensure that Jashin-sama was worshipped and respected in all the ways that he so rightly deserved. He would become leader of the cult. It would not be a position that he desired nor asked for, but he would accept such a duty nonetheless to ensure that glory be given to Jashin-sama. Because if he was not willing to do it for the betterment of all, who would be? Of course there was that tiny factor that he was still unable to sacrifice both his best friend and his only remaining family, but he would worry about that when the proper time came. For now he would just keep training to beat Itachi to a pulp before he would sacrifice him, far more than that bastard deserved, and he could easily continue to keep attempting to sacrifice his demonic best friend. Surely he could manage it eventually. Please let me go home. Disciple begged pitifully on the floor, dragging Sasuke out of his thoughts. Oh right, he was still there. What was he going to do with him again? Oh yeah, it was time for him to witness a proper sacrificial ritual that would hopefully set him up on the right track in life. You can go home later, Sasuke told him, tugging on his leash. Naruto had complained about it being an impulse buy. For not being very good at advanced mathematics, the demon was very good at monetary monitoring, but Sasuke had insisted about purchasing it, and now he had found a very good use for it. Maybe he should get more brats to convert and drag around on leashes. Actually, never mind, that would make him seem like a pedophile. Where are we going now? Disciple continued to whine. That was getting annoying. He would have to beat that attitude out of him sooner or later. Maybe he should bring him back to Konoha? He could get him to deal with Naruto's latest phase. Sasuke really wished that there was a guidebook for how to raise your amnesiac demon. Maybe he should write it. He was sure to make a fortune by doing so. I am going to show you both what Jashin-sama asks of his followers, and what we are rewarded for doing his will, Sasuke explained to him as they walked through the dreadfully depressing neighborhood. Seriously, everyone would be so much happier if they were to just accept Jashin-sama as their lord and master. For now he would settle for just having Disciple. He doubted he could manage the full conversion in the amount of time they would be staying here in Wave, however long that would be. But once he had fully converted his protege to Jashin-sama's wisdom, he would send him back to spread the word of God. Then Jashin-sama's might would spread across the world. Ahaha, but he was getting ahead of himself. First things first. Sacrifice time. He politely knocked on the door of the first house he came to. After all, he was about to murder these people. Even if it was for a noble cause, he might as well be polite as possible in the moments leading up to it. The woman who answered the door looked to be in her 30s. It was somewhat hard to tell considering she was malnourished and had quite a bit of dirt on her. Seriously, this town was just the stereotypical definition of depression. Hello ma'am, sorry to disturb you, but this is a matter of GRE. Sasuke started to explain, but he was cut off by Disciple. Don't listen to him, he's gonna MMPH. Disciple tried to warn the innocent woman of Sasuke's true intentions, but he was cut off as Sasuke pulled the boy's own hat off and shoved it in his mouth to shut him up. That was very effective as it turned out. Excuse him, but he's new. As I was saying, this is a matter of great importance. Before we begin, may I ask how many people dwell within your household? And of that number, how many are currently present within the abode at this moment? Sasuke inquired. He needed to know how many holy seals he was going to need to carve into the ground, or the floorboards as it may be. It's me, my husband, and our 2 children. We're all here right now. Why is that special, and what great importance is this? The poor woman asked in confusion. Oh, her lack of understanding was just adorable and oh so innocent. He almost felt bad about murdering her and her entire family. Almost. All will soon be revealed, Sasuke told her cryptically. For some reason people became quite defensive when told he planned to sacrifice them to a higher power. The higher power, that is. May we come in for some tea? He tried to smile disarmingly. For some reason though, he felt it may have come out a bit too shark-like. One blood-filled and disturbing multiple homicide scene later that the author would have included were it not for the fact this story is rated T for teen, and not M for mature. Sasuke noted that Disciple was staring in mute horror at the bloodbath in front of them. A holy bloodbath done in the glorious name of Jashin-sama, that is. Sacrifice humans to Jashin-sama always did give Sasuke a warm and fuzzy feeling inside that was just delightful. And the pain. Oh, the pain. It felt so good. A small part of Sasuke's mind seemed to be disturbed by this, and the word masochist came to mind, but Sasuke forcefully and wholeheartedly ignored that stupid rational part of his thought processes. He gave a small grunt as he awkwardly pulled his own sword out of his chest. The last sacrifice in front of him had already bled out and died, but he had felt somewhat reluctant to pull the sword out when it felt so tantalizing inside his chest, stopping his heart from beating and flooding his lungs with his own blood. Speaking of which, he would have to get that out of there. It made breathing difficult, and while he couldn't die thanks to Jashin-sama's blessing, it was still annoying to have lungs full of blood messing with his breathing habits. Why you just killed them? Disciple sniffled on the ground. The younger boy had fallen to his knees and was staring blankly ahead, seemingly at nothing. Was this how normal people responded to death? How obnoxious could people get? Yes, I did. Sasuke confirmed, sounding almost uninterested, turning over his hand as he inspected it. It had turned a shade of ebony that reminded him of a starless and moonless night. On the back, however, were white markings that appeared almost to follow his skeleton but made a circle in the middle of his hand rather than follow the bones. He hadn't had much a chance to take a good look at himself after the Mizuki incident. Disciple turned to him and stared for a few moments, a multitude of emotions flooding through his eyes. Sasuke identified a few of them offhand: horror, disgust, fear, the usual emotions that civilians felt upon witnessing death. But there was something else that took Sasuke a moment to identify, and when he did he felt like grinning again. Interest. How did you do that? The young boy finally asked. His hair stuck to his forehead due to both blood and sweat. He had foregone putting his hat back on after Sasuke had shoved it in his mouth to shut him up. Now said hat was red with the blood of the family Sasuke had just sacrificed to Jashin-sama. You shoved a sword through your chest, but you're not dead. This is the blessing that Jashin-sama offers his most holy and devout followers. Sasuke explained, feeling almost giddy at finally making progress with his student. As long as I follow Jashin-sama's will and offer him souls as tribute, I am gifted with everlasting life. Disciple said nothing but looked back at the dead family. Sasuke wondered what he was thinking at this moment. Sasuke let him sit in silence for a few more minutes. The markings on his skin were beginning to fade, and just when he was about to give it up as a lost cause, Disciple reached down and picked his now blood-red hat back up. The boy stood up and put the hat back on his head. He turned to Sasuke and said the words the Jashinist had been longing to hear since he first picked up the boy in the alleyway. Teach me. Sasuke's grin at that moment could have rivaled Naruto's. Sakura POV. A few days later, Sakura blinked in surprise and tried to figure out where she was. Missy had been the last one in control and had decided not to tell any of her other personalities just what she was planning on doing during her time in control of their mutual body. She soon shook off her wariness and sat up, only to let out a brief squeal of surprise and fear as she realized that she was up about 15 meters or so in a tree. So she had no idea what she was doing in a tree in the middle of freaking nowhere in a country she was only barely familiar with. Seriously, Missy was supposed to be one of the more intelligent personalities, and there were only 4 of them. How was Sakura supposed to know what the doctor in training was thinking? During her time in her own head, Sakura had quite a lot of time of her own to think. Each personality had their own section of their shared mind space to themselves, though Inner had made multiple attempts to take over the others' areas. Unfortunately for her, and very much fortunate for everyone else, she only had power over her own section of the mindscape. Thus all any of them had to do to get rid of her was to simply think her gone. So in Sakura's portion of the mindscape, which resembled her bedroom, she thought about her drive. She wanted to be a ninja, but she also wanted to win Sasuke-kun's heart. Inner seemed to be doing a much better job of it than her, though. Sasuke-kun would actually tell Inner that he had no interest, he just outright ignored her. It was really quite depressing to thinking about. But she couldn't just give up. Even if she was technically fighting against herself for Sasuke's affections. Actually, come to think of it, did it really matter whether her or Inner won the battle for Sasuke-kun's love? Would he only love one personality or all of them? And what if Missy and Lucy didn't love Sasuke-kun? As unlikely as it seemed, neither of them had ever showed any particular interest in Sasuke. Then again, maybe Lucy was just too shy and Missy was too focused on her career to care. Which made Sakura think about her own ninja career. Which mattered more to her? Winning Sasuke-kun's affections or training as a kunoichi? It was a difficult decision, and one that Sakura wasn't quite sure she could answer honestly for herself quite yet. She sighed and leaned her head back against the bark of the tree. She wasn't feeling particularly tired. So what should she do now? She had no idea what Sasuke had been up to the past few days. The last time she had seen him had been when he had dragged of that Inari boy for some educational lessons, the last time she had been in control of her body. Her body, it was hers, right? She was the dominant personality, right? That thought was a scary one. She had always been the one in control, growing up with only brief appearances from her other selves, but did that make her the original? What if it was Lucy and the poor girl just never had the drive to remain in charge of herself? Sakura shook herself. She could worry about potentially life-altering and philosophical thoughts and possibilities later. For now it was probably in her best interests to get out of the tree. She made the ram hand seal, channeling her chakra to her feet, and walked down the tree. She grinned to herself. She knew it was improper of a young lady, but she couldn't help but think how cool the ability to walk on vertical objects was. Seriously, she would never have to use her hand to climb over a wall ever again. Now she could just walk up one side and walk down the other. Not that it was normal or proper behavior to be climbing over walls. Ahem. Sakura looked around the forest. All she could see in any direction was trees, bushes, trees, a few rocks, and oh yeah, trees. How could she miss the massive amount of trees surrounding her in all directions? She sighed and took a moment to look around. She picked a direction. Hopefully that would lead back to the village, or at the very least to the shoreline, so she could follow it until she found the bridge. As Sakura started on her way, she felt her stomach growl. When was the last time she had eaten something? Diet or no, she wasn't about to let herself starve. Naruto's POV, the bridge, Zabuza's return. Naruto raced towards the bridge after waking up at Kazuna's house to find his friends had already left. He was quite surprised to find that Inari was repeatedly stabbing one of a pair of goons Gato had sent to kill, capture, or both, himself and his mother to use against Tazuna. With Inari dealing with one of them, Naruto quickly decommissioned the other one. He had asked Tsunami where his team was and she pointed him to Bridge, still in relative shock of her son repeatedly stabbing someone saying die die die. He was starting to be concerned that Sasuke was a bad influence on people. Nonetheless, he had to go and help his team. If Gato had sent his mercenaries after Tazuna's family, that must be because he thought that Team 7 was sufficiently distracted and would be unable to help them. So Naruto was racing off to go and help in any way he could at the bridge. He was quite right as it turned out. It was a bit hard to tell, but the bridge was covered in mist, and he could hear people fighting. It took him a moment, and a bit of his demonic chakra to help his vision, but he soon located Sasuke fighting the fake hunter Nin in a sphere of ice mirrors, Kakashi fighting Zabuza, and Sakura standing protectively in front of Tazuna. Naruto took a minute before deciding to go help Sasuke. He certainly seemed to need it the most, considering that both Kakashi and Zabuza were way above his current skill level, and Sakura wasn't really fighting anyone and wouldn't need to as long as Zabuza and the fake hunter Nin were dealt with properly. Now came the most important part, making an entrance. Damn it, fight me like a man! He heard Sasuke roar in the background as he pulled his thoughts together. Maybe if he used some of his demonic chakra? Nah, this was way too early in the fight. Stop stabbing me with Senbon. So many Senbon. Maybe he could use an explosive tag to create an explosion which he would walk away from, looking like a boss? Oh Jashin-sama, why have you forsaken your disciple? Maybe he could create a bunch of Kage Bunshin and have them dispelled to create a smoke screen for his entrance? No, then he would need some epic music to go along with it. I can't feel my arms. Actually, maybe he should just run in and save Sasuke before he got himself killed for real, if that were possible. He wasn't an immortal demon, so he had no idea how far his immortality went. Yet to help his friend sounded like the best idea in this situation. Naruto ran ahead and chucked a kunai with an explosive tag attached at one of the ice mirrors. It detonated and actually knocked the mirror out of alignment with the others, causing the fake hunter Nin to miss with the Senbon barrage they had just launched at Sasuke. Dope? Sasuke looked up in surprise. He really didn't look too good. His arms were hanging limply by his sides and his sword was lying uselessly on the ground. Kyubi no Yuko in the flesh to save the day. Naruto grinned, feeling quite heroic. Sasuke stared at him for a moment before a tick mark appeared on his head. Why the hell didn't you keep attacking from the outside? That gives you room to maneuver. Naruto normally wouldn't have paid much attention to the rant, but he saw his friend's eyes and they looked quite different. Sasuke, what's up with your eyes? They look all red and stuff. Naruto questioned him. He vaguely recalled something important relating to that, but he couldn't quite remember what it was. Sasuke looked interested in that, and opened his mouth to say something but quickly shifted gears, jumping into Naruto to knock him over. Look out! He shouted as a bunch of Senbon hurled over their heads. You get distracted too easily. The hunter Nin told them in the same gender-neutral voice as before. Actually, that voice sounded familiar, come to think of it. Where had he heard it before? He wasn't able to get a good lock on the faker's scent as the mist was dispersing it quite effectively. You talk too much. Sasuke deadpanned before looking to Naruto. Dope, get these needles out of my arms. This guy knows pressure points, and I can't move them. Right. Naruto nodded but yelped in pain as a bunch of needles punctured his back. Damn it, that hurt like hell. Where are they getting all these needles from? He hissed as he yanked a few needles out of his teammate's arm, causing the other boy to wince. He's making them out of ice. Sasuke told him. He's got some sort of chakra manipulation bloodline. Naruto didn't want to admit it, but that sounded pretty cool. Pun not intended. But that didn't really matter too much right now. They needed to figure out how to beat him. To your left. Sasuke suddenly warned, and both of them rolled out of the way. Damn it, I finally get the Sharingan, and I can't even use my arms. He complained. I'm working on it. Naruto hissed as he quickly yanked out some more of the icy Senbon. Just give up now. If you stop fighting, I will not need to eliminate you. The hunter Nin told them. Like hell, we're giving up. Naruto shouted as he pulled out the last of the Senbon in Sasuke's right arm. The Uchiha boy tentatively flexed it and gave it a shake before reaching around and pulling some out of his left shoulder. It hurts, but nothing I can't work with. Sasuke told Naruto when he shot him a concerned look. Before they could begin working out a plan, Naruto gasped in pain again as a sharp spike of agony went shooting up his right leg. It only lasted a moment, however, as it began to go numb from the below freezing Senbon sticking in it. He wondered if they were cold enough to give him frostbite. He hoped not. Got any idea on how to beat them? Naruto asked, not using a gender term because he still wasn't sure whether the hunter Nin was a boy or a girl. Meeting Haku had disillusioned him about gender. Depends on how many more explosive notes you got. Sasuke responded. If we keep throwing them at the mirrors, we're eventually going to hit him. You two know I can hear you, right? The fake hunter Nin commented. I'm not sure how effective your plan is going to be considering I know what it is. Naruto felt like kicking himself, and from the look on Sasuke's face he felt similarly. Okay, how to make a plan to beat the bad guy/gal without being able to talk about the plan. Then again, they could just use the plan he had already come up with and see how well that went. That was when Naruto felt more Saban in his back, this time in a very specific spot that caused his eyes to light up with fear as he felt all feeling below his neck disappear. His spine, the hunter Nin had thrown enough Saban into his spine to sever the nerves. Naruto's vision started going black as he fell forward. He saw a look in Sasuke's eyes he wasn't quite able to identify. Was that concern? Then he faded into darkness. Drip, drip, drip. Naruto gasped and struggled to sit up. All around him was water. When his head was properly above the water, he sat taking deep breaths for a moment. How the heck had he gotten here? Had he fallen off the bridge? What happened to the fake hunter Nin? What about Zabuza? Was Sasuke alright? He had no answer to any of these questions, so he just settled for pulling himself out of the water. No way was he just going to sit here doing nothing, might as well figure out where he was. Now that he could take a good look around himself, Naruto realized he was in a sewer of some sort. How the hell did he get in a sewer? Seriously, how does one pass out and possibly die on a bridge and then wake up inside of a sewer? With no other options, Naruto started walking down the sewer. Apart from changes in the patterns of pipes, cracks and bricks in the walls, there was no difference as he walked. Well, no difference until he reached the end of the waterway, that is. There was quite a big difference there. Rows upon rows of massive bars. Huge bars that were bigger individually than he was totally. They actually appeared to be making up some great door, come to think of it. In the middle of the door was a piece of paper. Not a big one or very impressive, just a single piece of paper that had the kanji for Seo written on it. Naruto heard a great pounding noise as though some massive beast were walking in the dark. He gasped and took a step back when he saw Ro's massive teeth and a pair of glowing red eyes glaring down at him that made him feel small and tiny. So you finally arrive, a deep terrifying voice uttered. Naruto shook himself and got his raging emotions of primal fear and terror under control. He had to treat this situation logically. Who are you? He asked. I am the real Kyuubi no Yuko, you little idiotic human. Red eyes glared at him from the darkness behind the bars. No, you're not, Naruto said. What? The voice managed, sounding completely shocked and confused. I'm the Kyuubi no Yuko, therefore you cannot be. Naruto explained simply. Are you actually that stupid? The thing in the cage managed after staring at him in shock for a moment. I mean, I knew you were pretty damn stupid, but you're still in denial after being confronted by me. Do you want me to explain? Naruto asked. 'Cause I think I figured out what's going on here. Naruto nodded sagely as he put two and two together and understood the situation clearly. Okay then, please explain it to me, human. The thing in the cage that was definitely not the Kyuubi, not really anyway, said mockingly. Stop calling me that, would you? Naruto complained. Anyway, you're not the Kyuubi no Yuko, you're the sealed away memories and powers from when I was the Kyuubi no Yuko. The physical representation of his sealed memories and powers stared at him blankly for a moment. Okay, forget what I said about you being stupid, you're clearly mentally disabled. Hey, it makes sense. Naruto shouted defensively. After my memories and powers, you were sealed away. You were so powerful that you were able to take form. You actually believe this, don't you? His past self commented, still sounding unbelieving. Of course I do. After you were sealed, how long before you regained consciousness? Naruto asked. A few years, I guess, his past self said after thinking for a moment. That's how long it took for you to gain form. Think about it. Naruto shouted. I am thinking. I'm thinking you're a complete idiot. His memories complained. Some respect would be nice. I am the real you. Naruto commented, glaring at his past jerky self. You know what? I'm not even going to argue with you. That's how stupid you are being right now. The memory said after staring in shock for another few moments. You're just in denial. Naruto waved him off. Now I gotta figure out how to save Sasuke, Sakura and the old drunk guy, and I have to revive your stupid ass again. Seriously, do you know how much chakra I've wasted over the years reviving you every time you kick the bucket to keep the both of us alive? His memories and powers given form complained some. Damn, he sure complained a lot even in his past life. Maybe Sasuke was right and he should go get some help for his behavioral problems. Then again, Mr. Sacrifice small animals and other human beings could use some himself. I'll work on that. I have to make up for all the horrible things I did when I was you. Naruto told his past self. I did not do horrible things. His past self said very defensively. Just how many people did I kill in Konoha before I was sealed? Naruto deadpanned. Okay, just so we're clear, it was me who killed them and I kind of lost track. He admitted, looking sheepish. That was a weird expression to see on a giant fox. Exactly my point. Naruto shot at him. Just channel some of my energy so I can get back up and not die. Again, it's my energy and I'm not too keen on dying, which is the only reason I'm doing this. His past self told him, flicking his tails in annoyance. You just keep denying, don't you? I'll get through eventually. Naruto brushed him off. I really want to kill you right now. The fox in the cage told him. Stop being suicidal. Naruto shot back before his vision faded away. The next thing he knew, he was on the bridge again, and felt massive amounts of his demonic chakra flooding through him, melting the ice Senban and healing the damage. From the way things looked, it appeared as though no time had passed at all. Sasuke's eyes went from concern to fear. Unfortunate side effect of his demonic chakra was the killing intent it generated. He was sure Sasuke would be fine though, he was tough. I don't need a plan, he told the fake hunter Nin as he glared through a vision filtered in red at one of the reflections. I'm just going to crush you, he roared, slamming into one of the mirrors and causing it to shatter. Zabuza's apprentice quickly jumped to a different mirror before the blow landed. Unfortunately for them, they were unable to create mirrors as fast as Naruto was able to break them, and soon there was only one left. Can we talk about this? The hunter asked right before Naruto slammed into the last mirror, shattering it. The time for talking is over, Naruto roared at them as he slammed them into the bridge, breaking their mask and causing the fake hunter Nin's limp body to roll down the bridge, near where Sakura and the drunk guy were. You tried to kill me, you tried to kill my friend. You're finished. Naruto pounced, going in for kill. Naruto, wait! Sakura cried and ran forward to try and stop him. You've won, you don't need to do anything else. She grabbed his demonic chakra-enhanced arm. He was about to cry out to let go before the chakra hurt her. He wasn't actually planning on killing the hunter Nin, just injuring them enough to put them out of commission for a while, at least long enough for Kakashi Sensei to defeat Zabuza. But to his shock, the chakra didn't hurt Sakura. Instead, he began to panic as he felt the energy leaving him. He desperately tried to cut off the flow as the red cloak transferred from his body to Sakura's, but eventually it became clear it wasn't going to stop. So instead, he quickly wrenched his arm out of her grasp. The red glow still surrounded her even as his own faded away. Her eyes rolled up and she fell to the ground. Naruto quickly raced to her side in worry that he had let his powers hurt a teammate. He numbly noted Sasuke running towards them, and that without the mask the fake hunter Nin appeared to be Haku, which actually explained a lot about the whole unidentifiable gender thing. But Naruto's main focus was on Sakura, specifically her forehead that she had once been mocked for in her youth. A strange-looking seal that radiated some sort of disgusting chakra that certainly wasn't his demonic chakra but still despicable all the same, had appeared on her forehead. It looked like an addition symbol and had 4 dots in each of the quadrants. But even as he watched, the bottom line split into 2 and slowly separated, creating a star-like shape. And in that spot a 5th dot appeared. The demonic chakra glow faded away from Sakura, and Naruto dimly noticed Sasuke slam the pommel of his sword on Haku's head, knocking them out. His friend then came to his side. They shared a look briefly before turning back to their female teammate. Sakura's eyes fluttered open, and they were blood-red with fox-like pupils. Sarutobi Hiruzen POV, Konoha. This had the potential to be the strangest mission report meeting the Sandaime had ever had the pleasure, or perhaps displeasure, of attending. In fact, the only thing that had the potential to be stranger was if he was dealing with both Guy and the possible time-displaced older brother of Uzumaki Kushina. In an alternate universe, a red-haired boy sneezed. Yes, that would indeed be a weird mission report. So strange that it would probably have to be skimmed over briefly by the author and then told in summary format from Hiruzen's own point of view. Nonetheless, this report was still the strangest actual one he had ever had to deal with. Kakashi, could you perhaps explain to me why your team seems to have gained 2 additional members? Also as to why your female genin now has whiskers and is currently nuzzling Naruto-kun? Hiruzen asked after a moment of contemplation. Yes, there were indeed 2 additional members to Kakashi's team. Hiruzen was not actually sure whether the taller one was a boy or a girl. They had long hair and a face that had no seemingly decipherable gender, and the way they held their head made it difficult to tell whether or not they had an Adam's apple. Though if Hiruzen had to guess, it was either girly boy or boyish girl. The other new member was much shorter than the other members. He actually appeared to be either Konohamaru's age or younger. The young lad was wearing shorts and a vest, although his most notable piece of apparel had to be his hat, seeing it was the exact shade that Hiruzen recognized matched dried blood. The boy was standing dutifully slightly behind Uchiha Sasuke. That fact alone managed to double the Hokage's oncoming headache. As for Kakashi's female genin, Sakura or Missy or something like that, she appeared to be well molesting his surrogate grandson. Also, she now bore some resemblance to Naruto, seeing as she now had whiskers similar to his. Although while he had 6, she appeared to only have 4. Oh, and she appeared to be purring, strange as it was, while she nuzzled into Naruto's neck. The boy seemed to be somewhere in between disturbed and aroused, which was actually quite understandable for a young boy around his age. Well, Hokage-sama, Kakashi rubbed the back of his neck in a sheepish gesture. It's a bit complicated. We have time. Hiruzen pointed out patiently. Really, he did. His only upcoming meeting was with Danzo, and he really did not want to listen to him try not to complain about how difficult it was to purge people of their emotions. Seriously, as if a training program could totally remove something as primal as emotions. True, they could be trained on how to respond, but removal, as Danzo called it, was highly improbable. Of course, there was always the option of a lobotomy. He quickly cut off his train of thought before it could be pursued any further. He then mentally scolded himself for he was getting way too off topic. Kakashi had seemed to wilt, like a dried-up flower. Very well, sir, you see, it happened like this. Kakashi POV, Wave Country. A few days ago, Kakashi watched Zabuza's body fall with a neutral expression. He held some respect for the Kiri missing Nin. Not much, mind you, but enough to admit that a great shinobi had fallen this day. He would have given the man a brief moment of silence if not for the fact he felt the importance of going to check and find out what that massive output of demonic chakra from Naruto was all about. Unfortunately, before he could get very far, he was stopped by what at first glance appeared to be a hobbit. Well, that's not to say the hobbit stopped him. The stupid little thing just started shouting out into the slowly fading mist. Something about Zabuza failing to kill the bridge builder, and how because of his failure he was a baby demon. Kakashi was quite sure that had Zabuza been alive the man would have been quite insulted. As the mist continued to fade, two things quickly became very apparent. The first being that it was not a hobbit who was speaking after all. No, instead it was just a short and rather ugly old man wearing a business suit whom he had to assume was this Gato guy everyone had been complaining about and living in fear of since he got here. Oh, and he had a large, rather well-armed army of mercenaries standing right behind him. Wasn't that just wonderful? No, it really wasn't actually. Something was going on with his students, and he was feeling a bit tired right now. Sure, he could probably take on that army of mercenaries without too much trouble, but he was feeling tired. If only he hadn't just killed Zabuza, then he could have relied on the missing Nin to get pissed and take on the army. Unfortunately, Zabuza was dead and Kakashi was on his own. Gato, now in plain view, took in the sight of the dead Zabuza and then looked up at Kakashi. A dastardly smirk soon decorated his features. Well, I guess he really was a failure. You have my thanks for removing him from the equation. Unfortunately for you, I still need that bridge builder dead. Did you say something? Kakashi asked, a smirk of his own hidden behind his mask. Let's see how much he could rile this guy up. Hopefully he could keep him distracted enough for the rest of the mist to fade so he could check on the condition of his students. Yes, I think I did actually. Gato's smirk transformed into a glare. Or at least that's what Kakashi assumed based on the narrowed eyebrows and scowl. He couldn't actually see Gato's eyes behind the man's glasses. I think I said something along the lines of whoever brings me the ninja's head gets triple pay. He roared. The mercenary army cheered and raced forward, brandishing their weapons. From what Kakashi could see of the way the army held their weapons, the mercenaries' skill level varied between veteran fighters and random bum pulled of the street that was still completely wasted. Kakashi got into a ready stance brandishing a kunai, but rather than wait for the army to engage him properly, he simply unleashed some of his own killing intent upon those intent on being his killers. The effect was immediate. Roughly 2/3 of the opposing force either froze or collapsed to ground. Of the remaining third, about half of them seemed to lose some of their nerve and either slowed down or started trembling as though running away in fear rather than running forward in bloodlust. That left roughly 1/6 of the original army for Kakashi to actually feel any concern about. This while he had taken away much of the numbers advantage. Those remaining were clearly the ones who were either too stupid to know when to back down or were tough enough to shrug off his ki and keep on coming, which could also be considered stupid, or suicidal perhaps. Nonetheless, they were clearly the cream of crop. Not that it would really matter in the end. Before Kakashi could effectively curb stomp the oncoming force, however, a flash of red sped from behind him and began tearing through the ranks quite literally. He blinked in surprise at what he assumed was Naruto. Well, at least the boy was alive, even he appeared to currently be possessed by a demon. But what about Sasuke and Sakura? Oh, and also the bridge builder who they were supposed to be protecting. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto called from behind him. Kakashi turned to see the mist had now completely cleared and he could fully view the scene behind him. Tazuna was still alive, which he supposed was a plus, but Naruto currently was holding Sasuke back from doing anything to Zabuza's partner, who now appeared to be unconscious. Well, Naruto appeared to have Sasuke under control for now. Before he could deal with the fake hunter Nin, he had to deal with the rampaging Naruto. Wait, if Naruto was behind him keeping Sasuke from killing Zabuza's partner before they could be interrogated, then who was currently slaughtering the mercenaries in a demonic-like fashion? Kakashi slowly turned back around, already dreading the answer. Most of the mercenaries were dead or dying by now. Those still on 2 feet were either fleeing in terror, or in the case of the particularly stupid ones, attempting to actually fight their seemingly unstoppable assailant. Now that the red blur had significantly slowed down, Kakashi was able to see the figure underneath the demonic cloak. Pink hair, check. Developing feminine figure, check. Red dress, which was a horrible choice of clothing for a shinobi, check. Insane demonic grin, check. Although that last one probably should not have been there. Sakura had apparently become a Jinchuriki somehow. When the last mercenary fell, Sakura's demonic cloak slowly decayed as she glanced around, looked for any survivors who had not made the wise choice of fleeing for their meaningless lives. Ah, Sakura-chan, I think you got them all. Kakashi called to her, already wondering how she would respond. She turned her attention to Kakashi, who blinked upon seeing that her eyes were now red instead of green and the pupils slitted. He also noted the 4 whisker marks adorning her cheeks. Who's Sakura? The girl asked him in a voice that was layered similarly to Naruto's when he channeled the Kyuubi's power. I am the Kyuubi no Yuko. Kakashi stared for a full minute before connecting his palm to his face. He was seriously not being paid enough to deal with this shit. Hiruzen POV, present day, Hokage's office. Hiruzen waited for a moment after Kakashi had finished, clearly hoping for some elaboration. Well? He prompted the jounin. That's about it. Kakashi told him. Although after thinking a bit more on it, I've decided that Sakura is more of a pseudo-Jinchuriki now. But what about the 2 new members of your team? And what was that last bit about not getting paid enough? Hiruzen pressed harder, wanting answers. What new 2 members of my team? Kakashi asked, glancing back at the 5 young people behind him. I see Naruto, the Kyuubi no Yuko, and Sasuke. Next to them are two civilians who entered the village around the same time as us and decided to follow us here for some reason. Hiruzen stared at Kakashi. Kakashi stared back with his singular eye. Jounin Hataki, I expect answers. Hiruzen said in his best, I am the Sandaime Hokage and you had best remember that voice. Kakashi sighed and deflated slightly. As my Hokage wishes. He muttered sarcastically. He pointed at the taller addition, that's Zabuza's former companion. They repeatedly asked us to kill them seeing as Zabuza is dead, but we voted and Sasuke lost. They were apparently never a ninja of Kiri and Zabuza just kind of picked them up in woods one day. No, we don't know whether they are a boy or a girl. His finger transferred to the boy behind Sasuke. That's Sasuke's new disciple. Whose name is apparently Disciple. He's training to become a cultist of Jashin. He's here to learn the ways of Jashin and eventually become mentally capable of sacrificing his family in ritualistic fashion. I see. Hiruzen muttered more to himself than to Kakashi. The day had barely started and already he felt like he had spent the day hard at work. What an incredible achievement by Team 7. One last question. Hiruzen decided before he dismissed them. Why exactly is your female student here? He trailed off trying to find the most polite words for what she was currently doing to Naruto. Attempting, and succeeding, to seduce him? Kakashi suggested helpfully following Hiruzen's nod of confirmation, continued. Well, upon claiming to be the QB, Naruto got defensive. Kakashi POV, a few days earlier, Wave Country. Hey, what do you mean you're the QB no Yuko? Naruto shouted at the pink-haired girl. I'm the QB. No, I'm the QB. QB shouted back at him. No, I'm the QB. Naruto shot back. No, I'm the QB. The girl repeated. No, I'm the QB. Naruto recalled. Your voice doesn't even sound demonic. QB roared at him. It can if I wanted to. Naruto shouted. Liar! The female declared, pointing accusingly at the boy. Kakashi had moved to hold the back of Sasuke's shirt as the Uchiha heir continued to attempt to reach Zabuza's partner, likely with plans of sacrificing them for one reason or another. Or more likely doing so for absolutely no reason. He had made the wise decision to just allow this to play out and deal with the fallout. Well, I have a voice in my head, Naruto announced proudly. Kakashi resisted the urge to slap him upside the head. That was not something to be proud about. Having two eyes was something to be proud about. Having a voice in your head was something else altogether. Ha! I have 4 voices in my head. QB called back to him. Grrr. Naruto's features began turning demonic as his whiskers thickened and his eyes flashed red. I'll show you who the real QB is, he roared and lunged forward, a demonic cloak engulfing his form. QB's own cloak reformed and she charged forward rather than leaping into the air. The two met with an explosion of red and demonic chakra. Kakashi stared with a slight twitch occasionally irritating his right, and only, eye as the two tussled on the ground scratching and biting like a pair of super-powered toddlers. If he could do so without risking serious harm to himself he would pull them apart. Eventually Naruto managed to pin QB to the bridge. Likely due to the fact that Naruto had more muscle mass than Sakura did despite some of her personalities beginning to take training more seriously. Also due to the fact that Naruto had the full QB to draw on rather than just whatever limited amount Sakura had somehow gained. Ha! I win! Naruto declared proudly smirking at the girl. Rawr! QB snarled at him angrily. Admit it! Naruto gloated, making the wise decision not to let his guard down. If you're the QB then what am I? The girl questioned angrily. Then a look of understanding spread across her features. Wait, I think I get it now. Eh? The blonde boy looked confused but didn't make any movements. We're both the QB. You must be my other half. She declared, a wide grin splitting her features. W what? Naruto spluttered, finally losing his grip on girl. She immediately lunged up at him, but rather than attacking him she just hugged him tightly and began nuzzling her head into him. Never again shall we be parted. I will ensure we will never be separated again, she declared, squeezing tighter. Naruto made an odd squeaking noise that could have either been a complaint of pain or a cry for help. Kakashi just stared at the pair of them. He really was not being paid enough for this. Present time, Hokage's office. Do you want a pay raise, Kakashi? Hiruzen questioned the ninja. That was the second time he had brought up not being paid enough. The thought never crossed my mind, Hokage-sama, Kakashi said in a pleasant voice. But since you offered I would be very happy to take one. Hiruzen felt like slamming his head into his desk very hard for several minutes. Get out. He pointed towards the door and glared at the ninja. Of course, Hokage-sama. He turned his attention towards his students. Naruto, take your other half and follow me. We're taking her to Yamanaka Inoichi. Haku, you're coming with us because I don't trust you not to commit suicide if we leave you alone. Sasuke and Disciple the Jounin stared at them for a minute. Don't kill anyone too important, he decided. As the door closed behind the clearly insane Team 7, Hiruzen could not help but realize he had forgotten to ask what had happened to Gato. Probably nothing important. Sasuke's POV, a few days earlier, Gato's mansion. I sacrificed this heathen in the name of Jashin-sama, Disciple declared as he plunged his kitchen knife into own chest. Sasuke couldn't help but smirk as he watched the midget businessman convulse on the floor as blood poured out of a wound that had appeared on his chest. Disciples shuddered in either pain or pleasure. Sasuke was not quite sure, seeing as how the boy was new to this lifestyle. But either way, the cultist Uchiha felt a surge of pride well up in his chest. His apprentice had just made his first official sacrifice. He smirked even as disciples' markings began to fade. Welcome to Jashin-sama's light, my disciple. General POV, present day, Konoha. And how long did you say she's been like this? Inoichi questioned Kakashi as he inspected the pink-haired girl. He vaguely recalled being close friends with Ano several years earlier, a few days. But this is just the newest personality, although we have not seen any of the others since she made her first appearance. Kakashi explained patiently. Normally he would be messing around, but this was a bit more serious than he would have liked. How long has she been clinging to air? He glanced at Naruto with an expression that seemed slightly guiltier than it should have been. Almost as long. She declared he was her other half, and we've only managed to pry her off of him a few times since then. She always comes back though, and the next time is even more difficult. When a jounin like him was having trouble, there was a very big problem. Never underestimate the power of a crush. Or whatever this was. Haku sat patiently as the others talked, their hand occasionally twitching towards the kunai they had hidden under their kimono. If they weren't sure that they would be stopped before they could finish the job, they would surely have attempted to take their own life by now. Inoichi was surely going to need to make them a regular patient after the current problem was sorted. And you have no idea how she got multiple personality disorder? Inoichi pressed. Absolutely none. Kakashi admitted, while a weird seal appeared on her forehead. Naruto mentioned, causing both men to look at him. I didn't recognize it, and it changed before she woke up like this. Inoichi stared in surprise and then started pacing and muttering under his breath. Kakashi meanwhile glared at Naruto. Why didn't you mention this sooner? He asked his student with a small amount of anger. I was kind of dealing with other problems. Naruto complained and gave another futile attempt to get the pink-haired girl off of him. Kakashi sighed in frustration and turned back to Inoichi. Is it possible for a seal to do something like this? He inquired. I'm not expert on seals. Inoichi commented after another moment of thought. But I heard Jiraiya is returning to the village, perhaps we can ask him. Before the conversation could continue, Kyubi shuddered and then gasped. Her eyes closed and the whiskers faded from her cheeks. When her eyes opened again, they had returned to their natural shade of green. Finally! She gasped as she pushed Naruto away from herself. We've spent the last 76 hours, 45 minutes and 30 seconds trying to take her control away. Sakura? Kakashi asked tentatively. Missy, actually. The girl corrected him. It was either me or Inner, and I took the initiative before she could try anything. Explain. Inoichi told the girl even as she put on the lab coat that seemed to have appeared out of nowhere. None of us had enough chakra on our own to subvert the personality we have dubbed Akuma. Therefore we all combined forces and chakra control skills in an effort to outflank her. Her power has slowly decreased over the last 3 days, and we still only managed to dethrone her in the last few minutes. Missy explained with patience and detail. Do you know how you and the other personalities came about? Inoichi pressed the girl, clearly searching for answers. None whatsoever, but based on the fact that Uzumaki-san mentioned we have a seal on our head, I would have to theorize that this disorder is not natural, and instead exists by someone else's design. The girl answered. But whose design? Kakashi muttered. And what were their intentions? Orochimaru's POV. 12 years ago, Orochimaru had a problem. A big problem. And no, he wasn't talking about how he would occasionally get called out on his habit of inviting young prepubescent boys with bloodlines to his evil lair, professional and completely legal laboratory. No, it was his plans for the future. He had originally intended to learn every ninjutsu ever created, but as he studied jutsu he realized just how vast the spectrum was. How many new ninjutsu techniques were created every year? And why should he limit himself to just ninjutsu techniques? What about genjutsu, taijutsu, kenjutsu, senjutsu, fuinjutsu and all the subcategories thereof? Due to the sheer amount of knowledge he sought, he had decided to attempt to achieve immortality. He had a variety of ideas for how to achieve this, including everything from using 7 magic balls to make a wish to a dragon for it to using something called alchemy to turn himself into a philosopher's stone. But his best idea for the time being was the one where he would transfer his soul to another body and continue living. The question is what body to use when the time came to test his body switching technique. His first thoughts were along the lines of something with a Sharingan. Specifically an Uchiha, since they had the whole natural advantage going for them. Of course, getting an Uchiha to use was a bit of a problem seeing how paranoid they were. Then he had another idea. An Uzumaki. They naturally had large chakra reserves and an exceptionally long life expectancy. Plenty of chakra to use jutsu as well as the closest natural thing to immortality. So Orochimaru decided to go about finding an Uzumaki. The problem with that was there was only one known living Uzumaki left. And its name was Kushina. As it turns out, going up a young woman and asking her if he could have her body is not a good idea. Especially if that young woman is the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails and had this particularly interesting ability involving chains. Even if it was very amusing to watch Jiraiya's little blonde student spit out his drink. Well, it's like they say. If you can't beat him, create a clone using the DNA of dead Uzumaki clan members. He wasn't quite sure if anyone actually said that, but for the sake of science, he would pretend they did. Konoha, while it never had an abundance of Uzumaki, did happen to have one of vaguely high revere. A dead one admittedly, but that just made the prospect more exciting. It did bring up a few awkward questions however when he went to gather the required DNA. Orochimaru-sama? A young chunin who had the misfortune of being on guard duty in the old Senju compound where the clan graveyard was located questioned the Sannin. What are you doing here? Orochimaru glanced from the shovel and the hole he was in the process of digging to Chunin and back again. He briefly debated the likelihood of Sarutobi-sensei noticing one Chunin going missing. He turned back to Chunin and answered. Just doing a bit of late-night research. Oh, carry on then. The Chunin shrugged and went back to his rounds. Orochimaru watched him leave feeling quite surprised that actually worked. Honestly, the intelligence of the average ninja is rather concerning. Orochimaru thought to himself as he shoved the shovel back into the dirt. Next thing you know, most of a fight is going to be spent talking and having flashbacks. As long as he never participated in combat such as that, it should be fine though. He smirked as he heard the thunk of his shovel connecting to something hard. Now he just had to haul the coffin out of the hole he had just dug. Perhaps he could use an earth jutsu too. Orochimaru suddenly felt like kicking himself. Why had he not thought of using an earth jutsu to just dig the hole for him in the first place? He would have to remember that next time he went grave robbing. Nonetheless, his previous mistake did not halt him from using a jutsu to remove the coffin from the hole. Nor did it stop him from using another jutsu to refill the hole. If he had time when he was done, he would put the body back. He was a good person after all. Besides, who was he to stop future generations from grave robbing this corpse? Upon returning to his evil illegal laboratory, he went about extracting the DNA of Uzumaki Mido. It was a long process, and he had to refer to his notes on cloning several times in order to ensure that he was extracting the right strands. Genetic cloning was a complicated process. While creating a jutsu-based clone was simple, creating one from the genetic tissue of another person was another process entirely. In fact, it was virtually impossible to create a perfect clone of anyone or anything. This was due to the birthing process. Cloning was not as simple as extracting DNA from a subject and then putting it in a tube of glowing fluid. No, the technology for creating a clone like that was years beyond even him. The clone was human after all and would need to go through the stages that a natural fetus would go through. The only known process was to find a surrogate mother to carry the baby. This was where the imperfection came into play. This was due to the fact that mitochondrial DNA, a very necessary part of life, was inherited from the mother while the fetus is in the womb. So unless the clone's surrogate mother was the original, the clone would have discrepancies. But where to get a volunteer surrogate mother? Orochimaru-sensei. A voice called, I brought the rats you wanted for your totally legal experiments. Oh good, Enko was back. Perhaps she would know someone. Enko-chan, do you have any female friends who are not currently pregnant and are capable of having children? He asked his 18-year-old student. And yes, I bumped her age up, I'm not a sicko. Well, Kurenai-chan started her PMS a few months ago, but she's way too young for that sort of thing. Why? Enko asked curiously. I need to borrow someone's womb. Orochimaru announced. If it were possible he would do it himself, but seeing as he was male that was impossible. If only there were a jutsu that could turn him female for 9 months. Well, you can use my womb, Sensei, Enko said in a sultry tone, once again attempting to seduce her childhood crush. Orochimaru rolled his eyes at her immaturity. I need it for science, girl, get your mind out of the gutter. Nonetheless, he could not pass up the opportunity even if he was not quite comfortable using his adorable little student. He then glanced at Enko and frowned. And for Kami's sake, girl, put your clothes back on, I don't need it right now. 9 months later, March 28th, morning, Sensei. Do you know why I can't remember anything for the last 9 months, and why are you holding a baby? Enko looked confused as she walked into the lair, which may or may not be evil. I couldn't hazard a guess as to your memory loss, Enko-chan, and ignore the baby. He told her, hiding his frown as he inspected the child. Orochimaru had actually been trying to erase his own memory using a Yamanaka jutsu, but it appeared the clan was far more adept at using it than he was, for the time being at least. Enko had been very difficult during her pregnancy. He had been trying to erase the memories of all the screaming, midnight runs to the store, and foot massages he had been forced to do to keep the girl happy. As for the clone of Mito, the child had been born completely healthy. The only concern he held was the hair color. For some reason the girl's hair was pink instead of red and her eyes green instead of gray. Perhaps he had made a mistake when extracting the DNA, or it might have to do with the empty DNA she got from Enko. Nevertheless, he had compared the DNA he saved from Mito to the clones, and they were almost exact matches apart from the hair and eye genes. Are you sure? That baby kind of looks familiar, Enko mentioned, taking a good long look at the pink-haired baby who, upon seeing Enko, reached towards her and started babbling. Just your imagination, Orochimaru told her as he set the infant down and studied the design for the seal he had invented. It would allow the mind to separate into multiple personalities, each focused on their own area of study. That way, while part of the mind was in control of the body and perhaps training taijutsu, the other parts would be able to enter a sort of mindscape and work on their own areas of study. He was quite proud of it. He would apply it to the infant and see how she developed before risking applying it to himself. Unfortunately, due to the months of caring for Enko during her pregnancy, he was rather behind on his research. Well, as long as no demons were set loose on the village in the next couple of months, everything should be fine. Orochimaru POV, October 11th. He had lost a Mito clone. The stupid fox demon had trampled through his lab and he had been forced to act quickly to save himself, Anko, and most of his experiments. Unfortunately, he had been forced to make multiple trips in order to save as much as he could, and the lab had been trampled by the time he went back for the clone of Uzumaki, Mito. Or as he liked to call her, for Mini Mito. Because she was a Mini Mito, he thought it was funny, so now he had roughly a third of his notes, less than a fourth of his experiments, and thoroughly disturbed Anko. All in all, not the best night. Perhaps he should forget about the Uzumaki and focus on the Sharingan. Yes, that seemed like a much better idea. On that note, with everything he had lost, he should focus on ninjutsu for the next few years. Perhaps he should check on the experiment in the underground lab revolving around the Mokuton. In fact, he should probably move to the underground lab permanently, seeing as how the above-ground one had been trampled by a demon, and he did not wish to have a repeat of that incident. Thank you very much. Besides, what were the odds of his sensei finding him in the lab with all of his horribly illegal experiments? General POV elsewhere. Despite Orochimaru's beliefs, the baby was quite fine actually, if a bit upset. She had been old enough to survive the night on her own, safely protected by support beams that had fallen at a tilt. Of course, the next morning she had been quite hungry and needed a diaper change, so she had begun crying as loudly as she could. This had thankfully alerted nearby rescuers who had been searching the more ruined parts of the village for survivors. She had been thus rescued and taken to a shelter for young children who had been separated from their parents. Some would be claimed by their worried parents, and others would be left waiting, crying for parents who would never again hug them and tell them everything was all right. Those children would be put into the orphanage, and our pink-haired baby would be one of them. A few weeks later, a couple looking to adopt a young child to raise as their own would visit the orphanage. They were Haruno Kizashi and his wife Haruno Mabuki. When they saw the pink-haired girl, they would think it was a sign, as Kizashi had a similar, if darker, hair color. So they adopted her and took her in as their own child. They named her Haruno Sakura. What if Naruto beats Kakashi during bell test? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.